Hey folks, welcome to episode 29 of Double Feature Horror Show. I hope you're well this week. We have got a fun and I'd say very unusual stream for you tonight. A first-time guest in Wes Wyleven and an absence of guest in Harrion. He's not here. He sodded off.
He's serving a one-match ban for last week's atrocity.
Yeah, it's absolutely shocking. You've got to be harsh. Only giving Candyman 11 out of 12.
No, he gave it 10.
Did he give it 10?
He gave it 10.
Then he definitely deserves the 1 week ban. Mm-hmm. No, he's on a project for the Wellington project. I didn't know he was into cooking, but he is. So watch his live stream after this one. Obviously, I know that we've got a bit of a shared audience here on this one, so maybe a fair few of you watching the Wellington project launch stream live. And if you are, give Harry and our love. Although obviously, you're watching that and not hearing this. You can tell when it's live because I don't really think things through very much.
I was going to say, why would you assume that they're over there? They're all here. They're here with
cool
us.
Peeps. All the cool peeps are over here.
Quick shout out to the Cabal.
Oh yeah, people are watching on Cabal. Yes, I didn't even know about this. I'm a bit fascinated by Cabal. That there's a sort of. Well, what's the best way to describe it, Wes?
An amalgamation of autists and ne'er-do-wells who have decided to get together and fuck around for a while. Sorry. Excuse my French. See, already, man.
Friendly stream.
I'm horrible. I just.
You're absolutely grand. we sometimes make it 5 minutes in. Sometimes. Well. Yeah, I know. It's quite interesting thinking that there's people in the Cabal bunker watching, listening to our pirate broadcast. I think it's kind of fun. Hey to everyone in chat. I hope you were good. I'm seeing lots of regulars here. I hope you enjoyed it. This is our second audience choice. We've got our thing. I'm sure you know where we are doing themes. So when we do a little short theme on something, we can sort of tie in the more noble, educational aspirations of this stream and try and help build a more coherent picture on a particular topic, director, actor, or era, so that it gels together a little better in everyone's heads, because otherwise I'm sort of jumping all over the place. And then after the theme, we're doing an audience choice. You vote for whatever the heck you want. You get your suggestions in, then you vote for them. And this time, it was vampires.
I'm 2 for 2 at the moment. I'm 2 for 2 because even though I'm not voting, because obviously you don't want to fortify the democratic process.
Oh boy!
I must admit, both times that the poll has come up in my favour, so I was pleased with that.
But what was the first audience choice?
It was 1995's The Frighteners.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
The Frighteners. Oh man, I love that one.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the practical effects that they had made for the Reaper?
No, I don't think
I haven't. No.
Yeah, it's good. It's a bit hard to find these days, but yeah, much. So we were, in fact, interesting. It's interesting that we're talking about John Carpenter. John Carpenter is my favorite. I can't say my favorite. He is among my favorite directors, writers, and composers. For those of you who don't know, almost all of his movies he directs, he writes, and he composes the music.
Mm-hmm.
So the crazy tense music in The Thing, the kooky and off the wall music of Big Trouble in Little China, the hyper masculine, deep throated basso guitar strings of Escape from LA, all of it done by him. He's so good at setting a mood in all ways, in a combination of how it's shot, how it's written, and how the music sounds. He does such a good job. But the practical effects on the Frighteners was really, really well done, but unfortunately they weren't able to finish it, so they had to resort to CGI.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, so I'll stop myself. But but we were just talking about The Thing before the stream started.
I was just thinking that is such a segue of like the same kind of tragedy happened. I did not know that it happened in The Frighteners as well. Do you want to finish?
But the thing that see what I did? Hey. That's worse about the 2011 Thing. God, I hate that name. Is they had already made the practical effects. They had built the animatronics. They had made the silicone molds. They had modeled and fit it to the bodies of the actors. It was there. It was made. They did the big reveal at the end. I don't know if y'all know this, but the reveal at the end, because if you remember, there's a big honking ship out there. And like there's a big spaceship under the ice for 100,000+ years ago. And at the end of the 2011 Thing, they go into the ship, and in the theatrical release, there's this big ugly block of half-done CGI white moving cells. And then the main character fights a horribly CGI rendered blob of flesh that has the face of one of her friends on it, and she kills it, and then she dies, and then everyone else dies, and then the two guys that are left see that the dog's running off. They get in the helicopter and they fly after it, which is where the original Thing starts.
It was such a good idea to sort of give you the idea of, it's a remake, guys, and then slip you around with the no, actually it's a prequel. That was such a good idea. And then they bungled it.
The best part was throughout the movie, they give you clues, like the axe cut it, thrown into the wall, and the laboratory that was completely wrecked, and the fact that it's all burned down, and the guy who killed himself by cutting his wrists and all that stuff. But the best part about it was in the place of that horribly half-done CGI blob in the middle of the starship, there was going to be a fully animatronic alien.
Oh wow!
Who was like it's the Thing. It's the same thing as everything else, but it's in the form of an alien, and that was going to be like it had like worm eyes, and it had all these different shapes, and the animatronic was designed to like extend and contract and have these really gangly legs, and it was basically an even slimier version of the Alien Queen from Aliens, and it could like expand and contract. It was really, really cool looking, and they cut all of it. And it's like,
just slap that CGI all over it.
And
do you remember that? Do you remember the effect of the guy with the faces were melding together, and then splitting apart, like
in the 2011? In the 2011 one?
They did the practical effect for it, and they had it working practically.
Oh yeah,
and then they CGI'd it. I was like, how much time was wasted?
The amount of work and love that went into that, it's such a shame. And you can go to the effects studio's YouTube channel, and you can look at those special effects to this day, all the testing that was done. You can even see the boss alien, like the alien that was in the center of the ship. It was beautiful. It was horror.
We should do this as like the topic when we cover The Thing. We should cover the practical effects that were done for the prequel. We should do it. We should. That'd be a great topic for this.
That would be good. Yeah, I actually haven't seen the prequel. I've seen the original, of course, but
unfortunately, the prequel was it like she said. It's very well done. It's a very good concept. It was just executed horribly.
Yeah, that's what it's. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe. I'm not a massive fan of CGI anyway, especially maybe not so much like in recent years since the technology's developed. But I mean, sort of like when you were looking at it from like the mid to late 90s all the way up to about 2014, 2015, I wasn't a massive fan of it. And that's actually, speaking of it, it's one of the reasons why I like John Carpenter. Is because he doesn't really use CGI, if at all. I mean, I've said this before on stream. One of the reasons why he came back to do the Halloween film back in 2018, one of the conditions was that it was all practical effects and none of it was CGI. I'm a big fan of practical effects over CGI, and the more you guys are talking about CGI stuff in this prequel thing, sort of like the more put off I am by it, especially when you've got the original thing, which was I'm sorry, it was a cinematic masterpiece.
Oh
in
yeah,
my opinion.
absolutely. And you know, like the we again bringing up something that was before the stream. My personal favorite of the John Carpenter horror movies, which is In the Mouth of Madness.
Yes,
it's he takes all of the things that he learned. Did it again. He takes all of the lessons that he learned in terms of practical effects in from The Thing and from like Big Trouble in Little China, stuff like that, and he puts it into the subtlety of In the Mouth of Madness, and it makes you like the first time you're watching it, it makes you go, wait, what? Until it just whips its masculinity out and just slaps you in the face with it. At the end.
in a very Lovecraftian style.
I can be family friendly, so you know, there you go.
I appreciate it. I think, guys, you can tell we're a little keen this week because we launched into it. I've been very rude. I haven't even spoke about my guest. So I'll just do a quick check-in. That crime guy, how you doing, friend?
Hello and welcome to the channel. What up, my shillers?
Nicely done. And Wes, first time guest now.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a little tradition here of like when we do the audience choice, it kind of makes sense to have someone from the audience who get voted for the film, and you were really keen on it. So yeah, it's good to have you on.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, John Carpenter, he is up there. And one of the reasons why I like him is like I love Sam Raimi on the same level that I love John Carpenter when it comes to horror.
Yes.
But Sam Raimi doesn't hold a candle, with the exception of the Spider-Man movies. He doesn't hold a candle to anything outside of horror the way John Carpenter did Escape from New York, the way he did Big Trouble in Little China, you know, the stuff like that. Yeah, like he's able to Ghosts of Mars. Everyone hates Ghosts of Mars, but I love it. I love Ghosts of Mars. Ghosts of Mars is great. It's over the top, kooky action, and it was the last one he did up until that 2010 one that I've never seen.
Is that The Ward?
Yeah, The Ward.
Yeah,
I've never seen it. I haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, it was when I realized we were chatting and you were saying like John Carpenter's your favorite guy, and it was like, okay, yeah, this is good. We'll have Wes on. This will be good. And I've noted Harrion isn't here, but one thing I do still need to note, something of great importance in every stream, which I think we might struggle a bit this week, but we'll try, is that we do try and be a concise stream. We aren't up to the level of Mauler yet, and we have someone who tries to remind us about staying on track.
Oh no! What is
paying
this?
attention to time.
Oh no!
She's keeping us on time. Look, she's pointing to the clock.
Oh no! Oh, not Zed.
Oh no! And of course, given this scenario, which you'll all know from Pulp Fiction, there is only one place that Harrion can be. Yep. Possibly not the best idea to do this one, but once I got it.
Oh, it's fine. It's just, you know, a rough education of another person's culture. You can't judge, all right?
Yeah. I'm still going to take it off stream, though. It's quite horrific. And I'll move us into our topic. But a great intro for the topic is maybe, Wes, if you'd like to sort of tell us about the kind of horror you like. Because I get the feeling you're quite eclectic in what you go for.
I like pretty much every genre of movies. I'm quite the cinemaphile. For those of you who know me, I usually collect myself a pretty good size audience over in the Cabal, and we watch a movie, we go through it, and as we watch it, I have a tendency to like pause after things happen and kind of explain things and stuff like that, because I have always been a fan, and I get this from my dad, who was the exact same way. You shouldn't, I mean, of course you can, there's nothing stopping you, but you shouldn't just watch a movie. You shouldn't just be a passive observer in the movie, because if you just do that, you're missing so many little things. You should sit down and you should absorb it. And in the age of information, there's nothing stopping you from, if you see something that you like, go and do a little bit of a deep dive on it. See all the things that was behind the scenes, especially older movies like this and older school directors like John Carpenter. You know, all of the like John Carpenter is like, he's up there with James Cameron in creators of the guerrilla filmmaking genre, you know? Like with James Cameron in the first Terminator, which is a horror movie, I might add. It is a quintessential horror movie.
Yes.
And you know, quick sidebar for those people who like to say that Terminator 2 is the better movie of the two. You can't compare the two, because Terminator 2 is a masculinity to the wall, family friendly, action movie with Arnold in his prime with the spiky hair and bulletproof, and you know, hasta la vista, you know, like. But the first one is dark, and James Cameron. You know, the overwhelming majority of the scenes that he filmed in the streets were not permit. They had no permit. All the lighting, like he would drive around and drive around Los Angeles in the 1980s, which was a very safe thing to do back then, by the way.
Absolutely.
In the middle of the night, and he would find the perfect place to film certain scenes, and he would mark it down on a map and move on. John Carpenter did very similar things with the first Halloween. It was guerrilla filmmaking. It was so much of it was improvised. So much of it was, all right, the lighting's good, the timing's good, the actors are good. Let's go. Let's roll. Let's go with it. And much like James Cameron, he quickly evolved out of it into something amazing. And also, come to think of it, much like James Cameron, an asshole.
Quite famous.
Yeah.
I've seen. Do you know the footage on Aliens of James Cameron just ripping on all the stuff? Like he tells a guy, "Come back when you're ready to work."
His irrational hatred of tea breaks. For those of you who don't know, Aliens was filmed in England, in like backwoods shire upon Berkshire, or whatever, however the hell y'all name your towns and villages over there. And James Cameron, who is meticulous, fastidious, very, very like, let's go, let's get it. It's not perfect. Do it again. It's not perfect. Do it again. Let's go. That doesn't look right. Do it again. All of these like super laid back Brit bongers were just like, what? It looked fine. Just move on. And James Cameron was having none of it. And John Carpenter is much the same way. That's why he found a small group of actors that he liked working with, and he stuck with them. Again, much like James Cameron, there's a lot of similarities between John Carpenter and James Cameron. I never noticed that. I never realized that before. But
see it a lot of times, like you mentioned, Sam Raimi, same guy, loves bringing back the same people. Mike Flanagan brings back the same people over and over. I take that as a great sign.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, Tarantino, absolutely.
That's a deep dive that one day that you could do. Not exactly horror, but still. But yeah. So my favorite type of horror, to get looping back to the question, I personally love a good psychological horror. You know, something that messes with your head. Like y'all were talking about Candyman last session.
Yes.
The whole thing about, is he or isn't he? You know, does he exist? Is he in his head? I did like that. And then of course they kind of pleh. And then it was like, nope, he actually exists and all this stuff is happening. And it's like, all right, but I mean, Tony Todd, the bee stings, all that stuff. You pretty much covered everything in Candyman. You couldn't have done a better job. Very, very good episode.
Thank you.
Another good psychological horror is something that you've done as well, which is the Hellraiser series. But I cannot say that the Hellraiser movies are like among my favorites because I unfortunately read the book before I watched the movies.
So it's no surprise to you that.
Well, the thing is they left out one very, very important thing that was in the books that, in my opinion, breaks the Cenobites in the movies, which is they can't do anything to you unless you consent. You have to let them in the books, and they will tempt you. It's like it's like a Faustian deal, which they do a pretty good job of showing it in the movies. But in the books, it's I will blend the realm of pleasure and pain until it becomes one giant red haze of being and making a man feel every instance of pain and pleasure in their life all at once, over and over and over again, until his mind is completely shattered. Stuff like that. Love it. And then, of course, the second Hellraiser movie, which is just silly.
It's
see,
silly.
now
I'd stand up for it.
I was told the second film was better than the first one because I don't know if you recall from the stream that we did on that. I wasn't a massive fan of the first one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say better. It's quite different, but there's
It's definitely different.
There's a lot of. It's not as tight. Basically, it gets a bit cray, but there are some bits in there that I think are quite inspired, and it's much schlockier, but it's got some powerful moments. And
it gets to a point where it's like a weird D&D game. Like it gets a little silly, but I don't mind silly. That's the other thing. I do like a good psychological horror. I do like a good mind F, as it were.
Yeah.
But
and if you liked Newt from Aliens, they ripped off the entire character for Hellraiser 2. So why not?
Like, hey, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the thing with John Carpenter is he is more than just a horror director. He is a suspense director. He's a comedy. He can seamlessly blend comedy, suspense, and horror all in the same movie. And in my opinion, you got movies like They Live, Escape from LA, and Big Trouble in Little China, which are, like, in my opinion, and I know there's a lot of people who don't agree with me, but I think one of his best works is Escape from LA. And not necessarily because of the movie itself, because it is silly, but it is because it is a reaction to not just the film, the movie environment that it was made in. Because remember, late 90s, we were reaching the tail end of the stereotypical action dude. But it was also a reaction to John Carpenter's library himself. People were starting to make fun of his work. People were starting to go, the thing, it's half of it's in the dark. You can't even see it. Oh, They Live. Oh, those effects are cheesy. Oh, he takes the sunglasses off. Like they started making fun of his work. They even started going after Halloween. So he's like, all right, you want to make fun of my work? I'll beat you at making fun of my work. So he made, one of his most famous movies, Escape from New York. He made a parody of it using the same characters.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Like, I know around the time he was doing it, so mid-90s, he was thinking about quitting.
Oh yeah.
And the impression I have of him is he is kind of a curmudgeon. Like, I get a weird read on him. Like,
he is.
I sometimes think maybe just because he doesn't like playing the Hollywood game. Maybe that's why the press are pretty harsh on him in interviews, and maybe he's not that bad. Because, and I'm just thinking that because of Body Bags when I saw that, which was if you've read the interviews and you're like, John Carpenter's a grumpy old bastard.
Oh yeah,
it's like Body Bags, he is camp as hell. He's like
Mm-hmm.
a camp crypt keeper, introducing these short horror stories, and it's because Body Bags was meant to be a sort of Tales from the Crypt style episodic series, and it fell through. So they're like, well, we've got three stories filmed. We'll put them together. We'll make a movie out of it. And
The best one is with Mark Hamill.
Yes. Well, I really liked Stacy Keach in the really cheesy story about the hair. I thought,
yeah, that's true. The Stacy Keach one is good, but Mark Hamill like going evil.
yeah, we do love evil Mark Hamill around here. But yeah, it's just Carpenter is being a complete ham, tying it together. I just can't believe it's the same guy doing these really goofy things, and it just sort of really changed how I thought about him. TCG, of these Carpenters, would you say you've got a favourite from the ones on screen?
Well, to be fair, I think looking at them, I've only ever seen 3 of them. Naturally, Halloween, the thing as I mentioned earlier, and the Fog.
You'd be familiar with, I'm guessing, like Big Trouble in Little China,
yeah,
New York, and Assault on Precinct 13. Maybe?
No, I've not seen that. No.
Oh, that's fun.
A lot of people overlook that one. A lot of people do. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, I think in a way he's easy to overlook, because even though he's kind of like a titan, I don't feel he gets all that much promotion, and he does lots of really obscure stuff. People don't talk about Body Bags or In the Mouth of Madness very much.
Yeah, I was going to say actually, because when we did the Horror Hosts live stream, I think you mentioned Body Bags at that point as well, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just done a video on it, and I was really, really chuffed with it. It's I mean, I guess in that one he's more sort of tying it together, and the Horror Host, I think, is like more of that Elvira style, standing up and presenting.
The host,
it's quite similar.
Oh, the host in Body Bags is priceless. Body Bags actually reminded me more of Creepshow than Tales from the Crypt, because it's silly. And Creepshow is silly. It's don't worry, it's horror. It's definitely horror, but like, give me my cake, and Ted Danson being drowned to death, going after Leslie Nielsen as an undead, as a waterlogged zombie. That's good stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah, like even the famous like massive creature in the crate. It's like it's scary, but it's also it's a little fun. Like the thing's got a massive grin on its face. You're not meant to take it too seriously. It's a really nice balance, I think. Like Creepshow is just a fun time.
My dad would show me these movies when I was a little kid. When I say little kid, I mean little kid. I was born in '86, and my dad would show me like RoboCop and Commando and like
Predator.
Oh God, yes. And stuff like that. But he also, every Halloween we would do horror movies, and one of his favorites was Creepshow. And for some reason, that damn creature under the crate, that creature under the crate scared the bejesus out of me. Of all the things, that creature. Why don't you let it just tell it to call you Billy? And I would like be cringing like off to the side. I couldn't watch it when I was a kid. I couldn't do it. And it's still to this day when I watch it, I'm like, it's silly the way that things make you feel that way. And no matter how far ahead in your life you get, man, if I ever see a crate in real life underneath a set of stairs, I ain't going near it. No way.
Oh, nice. Well, talking about sort of astounding imagery, I think that's something he does really well. Like I didn't know that idea of him being kind of like guerrilla filmmaker. I think that's kind of awesome.
Oh yeah, especially the first Halloween. Because you got to remember in that time, we were getting out of the 70s. the cowboy thing was dying, the space thing was dying, or not the space thing was, we hadn't, the space thing was kind of, the epic sci-fi thing was kind of going off, and we were kind of in the same rut that we were in like the early 2000s, in the early 80s, and movies weren't all that popular. You had your established movie stars who were still belting out movies, but like, it was kind of the early mid 80s, like that was type of thing, right? Ghostbusters hadn't come out yet. The second gen, or the first gen SNL guys hadn't started their movie careers in earnest yet. And Arnold hadn't really come to the scene. Stallone hadn't really become famous. So we were on the cusp of something great. And much like the early 2000s, where we were on the cusp of the superhero genre, the Halloween, the creator, like the formation of the slasher genre. The concept of a slasher movie did not exist before Halloween. And the Terminator, like I said, two perfect examples of guerrilla filmmaking, where and they started this genre of, in the case of the Terminator, this action suspense thing that, and also it propelled Arnold Schwarzenegger to the heights that he reached in the 90s. His stardom didn't slow down until Junior, which is another horror movie in and of itself.
For very different reasons. I'll tell you what, it's quite refreshing to speak to another guy who actually considers Terminator to be a horror film. Because again, I mentioned this early on in the streams that we were doing here, and I don't think many people agreed with me at the time. So it's nice to actually have someone who does agree with me that was a horror film.
Well, yeah, I think you got a good case. There's lots of times where it's clearly aiming to freak you out. It's clearly emphasizing the vulnerability of Sarah Connor and the hopelessness.
Not just the vulnerability of Sarah Connor, the vulnerability of Kyle Reese.
True. Your knight in shining armor is very underpowered.
When he has these PTSD flashbacks of the future war and how desperate, and dirty, and horrifying it is. Like, people look at those future war scenes, and now we look at it and you're like, yeah, best part of the movie, like everything's destroyed, and they're like, shit, he's driving in the back of an El Camino with like a laser firing M60. It's freaking awesome. But like, look at the people who are hiding desperately, like in these hovels, in like storage garages, and just trying their best not to be seen, and the TechCom soldiers fighting desperately to save not just themselves but their loved ones and their fellow humans. And I could go off about Terminator,
and not just that, but it's also when he's describing the Terminators when they first started wearing skin. And it was like
the rubber
one.
ones.
Describing the rubber. Now, obviously, you never see that in the original film, but the mental images it puts in your head to see one of those sort of like uncanny, sort of humanoid, sort of, cyborgs just walking down the hall like, "Hello, fellow humans."
Yeah,
there is that first scene which I think it was such a gamble because they let the one in, and the claustrophobia is emphasized. Like, the thing does look weird, and it's just like on the right side of uncanny.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously that was that was organic.
That was organic.
Yeah, that was organic. Yeah.
But yeah, trust me, if you like proper horror show, if you want to go down the Terminator 1 route, I will be happy to come back and do a huge, like, I could talk for ages about, how John Carpenter, God damn it. Sorry, family friendly. Apologies.
You do well. We're almost family friendly.
About how, James Cameron had a sickness induced fever dream, and he had a horrifying sleep paralysis nightmare about a demon made out of metal reaching out of the fire for him, and that's how he came up with the concept of the Terminator. Like stuff like that. We could go into that deep dive. But Yiz
I
did
could
yell
go
at me.
rogue on that. Yeah, we probably should.
We
I see
definitely
people.
should.
Okay, we might have to do some rogue streams on that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I could
All
talk
right.
for ages.
Let's round off the Carpenter topic, which is just like lots of furious love from. Don't worry, we're coming back to Carpenter, guys. By the way, if you think this is just effusive outpouring of love for one of the best directors, and how can someone be like one of the best directors of the horror genre and also be one of the most overlooked? It's weird. John Carpenter just does not get credit, I think, but he gets credit, but it is not enough.
Absolutely.
Let's round off maybe if you were to recommend 2 Carpenter films to someone, which 2 would you go for? If Wes, you want to go first.
So I'm sorry, I was blowing my nose. Could you repeat that? I apologize.
Yeah, absolutely grand. It's like if you were going to close off the Carpenter topic, if you're going to introduce John Carpenter to someone, what 2 films of his would you suggest they watch from the horror side of things?
For horror only? Horror
Yes.
only?
Yeah.
Oh, The Thing, definitely. It has to be The Thing. Because you there's nothing like, they have never made another movie like The Thing. And oh man, I would have to say In the Mouth of Madness. But like on the other hand, like, do you consider They Live to be a horror movie?
I'm unsure. It's a whole mix of genres. I don't feel it consistently tried to scare me. I think it tried
that's
to
the thing.
unsettle and make me despair, but I'm not sure it tried to scare me too much.
The beautiful part about They Live is much like one of my favorite authors, Robert Heinlein. They Live is in the same way Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers is a thinly veiled political treatise and socio-political commentary. They Live is a very, very thinly veiled socio-political commentary and political treatise from John Carpenter, and quite poignant in today's world.
Oh no!
But yeah, a concise answer: In the Mouth of Madness and The Thing. But he is so much more than his horror. But yes, that is my answer.
That's true. That's true. How about you, TCG?
I'm sort of with the consensus here with the chat Thing and Halloween. I mean, to be fair, they're the only sort of I can see Halloween 3's there as well, but yeah, just by virtue of having seen them and remembering them the most, Halloween and The Thing are absolute classics.
Yeah.
The thing is, the reason why I don't suggest Halloween is because everyone's probably seen or knows everything about Halloween already.
Yeah.
So it's like
true.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Halloween. Halloween. Everyone knows Halloween.
It's purely by virtue of just knowing those 2 films the most. Because I suppose The Fog, actually. I suppose, if you wanted to sort of, loosen the mainstream sort of strings on it, I would say The Fog and The Thing.
I haven't really talked about The Fog. Yeah, absolutely. The Fog is great. Again, another suspenseful thriller horror movie.
Totally. Yeah, I'd like to cheat. Like if I can assume people know Halloween, and if I can assume people know The Thing, then I don't have to give those because I feel like duty bound. Like I would definitely say In the Mouth of Madness because I think it's completely overlooked. It was really hard to get on DVD in the UK for ages. Like I think it was really late to get a release.
Right.
I think it's a work of satirical genius, as well as being great and Lovecraftian. All the jokes about Stephen King in it are hilarious.
Oh wow!
It's like
you picked up on that subtlety, eh?
Oh, I had great fun with that. So be that, and then of the remainders, I've kind of got quite a soft spot for Halloween 3. Even it's very weird, but
you've said this in the past.
Yeah, it's going off the beaten path. It's doing weird stuff. I quite like that.
I'll confession. Not the biggest fan of the Halloween series. I know, John Carpenter. But like, I've never been a fan of the slasher in general.
That's fair. You said you like psychological stuff a lot more, and slashes are a lot more literal.
Like, don't get me wrong, I do like me. Oh God, what was it? Dr. Loomis. You know, that whole thing. I very much enjoyed like that character, where it's just like, no, son, no, you don't understand. This thing's got to die.
It's a base take, isn't it?
I love it, and I love there's a TV show. Sorry, there's a TV show from the 2000s and 2010s called The Boondocks. One of among my favorites. I've introduced it to the people of whom that follow me on the Cabal and whatnot. And there's an episode where they do a play on that, and it's particularly good. But anyway, vampires.
Nice. Yeah, indeed, vampires. Well, a little bit of an overview, some stuff that I thought was kind of interesting about it. We've got a 1998 film, so it's kind of on the cusp of the danger zone, which I always refer to. That's when CGI was available, but it really shouldn't have been used. You know, just because you can use it doesn't mean you should. But
there are some movies
John Carpenter, so he dodged it.
Yes, I was going to say that's one of the first notable things about this film is the intense lack of CGI.
Yes,
which
there's some movies in that era that pull it off. Mainly my pulpy goodness. You know, The Shadow, The Mummy, The Phantom. They managed to pull it off pretty well, you know, and also Jurassic Park.
Yeah, here's the thing for me: Jurassic Park pulled off the CGI so well. I think it made everything else. It made everything else in the 90s and even a lot of the stuff in the early to mid 2000s looked just absolutely amateur.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that's Steven Spielberg and Industrial Light and Magic and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, it was for the pros only, let's say. And the other thing is, another relevant factor is that John Carpenter here he's kind of the veteran. And so much of Vampires is kind of a response to other vampire movies. It's clearly, it's like explicitly in the text reacting. Like the James Woods gets this amazing line, vampires aren't fags going around in Euroland or something. Which was awesome.
I was just talking about that with Crime Guy here. Like because I don't know if do you know what other very famous genre-defining vampire movie came out later the same year as Vampires?
Blade, right?
Yeah, October. This came out in August. Blade came out in October, and in my opinion, redefined what a vampire is. You know, like don't like this one. Like I love and getting into this movie. I love the beginning because it's just like James Woods, who plays James Woods. James Woods does not play other characters. He plays James Woods. James Woods comes into the movie tired, angry, drunk, and pissed off at you for bothering him.
Yes.
He has no other setting.
I couldn't help but notice that James Woods in this film did look like a bit of a worn down Kevin Bacon.
Oh well, I mean,
which
have you ever watched any other James Woods movies?
Yes. Yep. So, Videodrome, Crash, obviously.
Videodrome,
spicy guy. But I'm noticing here, Empire TV. You got there before we did. I was going to say there is no bloody way that Guillermo del Toro didn't make Blade and then say, look at vampires and say, damn.
Well, I would argue
there's some inspiration.
I'd argue that Blade 3 ripped the storyline from this film.
I would say Blade 2. Well, actually, no. Yeah, you're right. Come to think about it, yeah, you're kind of right. But also Blade 2, because Blade 2 and Blade 3 are storyline wise basically the same movie, mainly because Blade 3 did not need to exist. But like Yeah, you're kind of right. If anything, Blade 3 adheres to the concept of vampires more, for the worst reasons, but that's that's another story. But yeah, in the beginning, James Woods, it starts with him looking at you and saying something insulting, which is perfect. Because he says something along the lines of just another New Mexico shithole or something like that. It's like, thanks, James, but I'm from Florida.
Thanks, James. I can't relate personally.
Cheers,
No,
buddy.
like, and throughout this entire movie, James Woods, it's weird how James Woods never breaks character throughout this entire movie and throughout all of the other movies he's ever done before or since, because he only plays James Woods, and he's just angry, crotchety, half drunk, and I love him for it. You couldn't get a better person to do a vampire hunting movie, and
it's such a brilliant sort of, I don't know, it's like a total pivot on the genre. Like, let's put this in context. It's 1998. Yeah, Blade is coming out, but they're not the Blade guys, but they have seen Oscars get thrown in the direction of Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah,
which was very pretty. I do like it. I actually really like it, but it's more it was a return to classical vampires.
Oh yeah,
vampires of Europe, dressed up aristocrats. And this is obviously a massive middle finger to that. And you could say this is a lot more like Near Dark. But it's only like Near Dark, which is Catherine Bigelow's sort of a Western vampire movie, which is very melancholic, incredibly original, got some beautiful tense scenes in it, very disturbing stuff. And it's like that in setting, but again, the tone is completely different because John Carpenter isn't going to rip them off. Yeah. He's doing his own thing, and his idea of a team of vampire hunters that just start off just treating it like this really mundane, boring job, which is a fantastic thing when the whole premise is completely outlandish. Like, the Pope is paying them to hunt vampires.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just want to mention as well, because we've referred to films like Interview with the Vampire, the Blade series, but don't forget as well, this was around the time that Buffy as well was in its height. So
98, man, that's in its prime.
I wasn't sure about that actually. I was battling that around in my head. Like, Buffy debuts mid-season 97 for a half season, and then season 2 is kicking off in earnest in 98. But I'm like,
from Dusk.
I don't think the original movie will have influenced this.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. I don't think it was talking to it specifically, or making comments, but in terms of sort of like the tone. I mean, it's very. I mean, you look at these guys. Yeah. They're, I'm trying to think of how to word it, but with Buffy, there was very sort of like a gothy, emo-esque tone to it, melancholy.
Well, it was a teen drama. Too.
Yeah.
Very angsty,
very angsty and sort of rebellious in some ways. And I suppose you could say, well, James Woods' character is literally angsty and irritated.
Well, that's mainly James Woods. You've got James Woods acting opposite of one of the lesser Baldwins.
Hey, 1998 Stinker's Bad Movie Award winner for Worst Supporting Actor, I might add. For this,
for the Flintstones, you take that back.
Oh no!
And also, do you know? Have you guys seen The Running Man?
What surprise!
We need to. I need to refresh for our Rogue stream on it. I need to.
Right. Another one. Running Man is often overlooked.
Yes.
When it comes to like cyberpunk dystopias.
The only reason why I mention it is because Ortega plays Chico in The Running Man, and if you don't know who Chico is, he's the guy who gets his head blown off during the prison escape.
Oh shit, he does.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you're right. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I was like, I know this guy from somewhere, and I started frantically Googling. I was like, the thing is, because I'd literally watched The Running Man like the week previous, and that's like, and that prison break scene's like one of my favorite scenes. So I've always like as soon as I saw his face, I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy. I know it's the guy.
Yeah, Running Man. That's another horrible, depressing dystopia that is poignant.
Yes, very depressing. In some ways, yeah, even more so nowadays than at the time.
No, but you do bring up a good point. I could have sworn Buffy started in like 95, but no, it started in 97. I was completely wrong about that. So yeah, I guess Buffy doesn't. Maybe Buffy was inspired by movies like Vampires and Blade to be more silly.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the idea of like
you had
the civilian vampire hunters comes in, and
as well. You might be sorry to interrupt, but you might be thinking about the Buffy movie that came out.
yeah,
a couple
the
of years
Buffy movie
beforehand.
was
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's also like kind of relevant to that. This is the weird era. Now that post Buffy, when vampires don't turn to dust, it just looks weird to me. I can't unlearn that. They've totally changed my my perception. But I just want to go back because there was another thing that was super relevant in terms of scene setting. Empire 2.0. You already got it in there. Where
it's
is
from
it?
Dusk
Till
Till
Dawn. There
Yeah, you can't. I cannot believe I overlooked From Dusk Till Dawn. Of course, Tarantino.
Massive influence. 1994, I think.
Was it really 94?
Yeah, seriously. Looks good. Looks seriously good. Let me confirm.
96.
96. Apologies.
So 2 years earlier. One of the only George Clooney movies that I actively enjoy, other than Batman and Robin, of course. But
I love it's the bat nipples, isn't it?
It's
I like the credit card.
I love I love the old 60s Batman TV show, and it's just a modern retelling of that. So, but yeah, that's another story. But yeah, no, absolutely. From Dusk Till Dawn, holy crap. Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez working together for a gory, just action slogfest of such a simple premise. And so good. Yeah. And the way it ends is perfect. The way it goes is beautiful. Like, very few movies is willing to kill kids. And I'm not talking about little kids. It's not like little kids. Those you haven't seen it. It's like
Juno pussed out completely.
Yeah. But like
too soon.
Like like not many movies are willing to put kids in harm's way and actually do something with it. And of course Tarantino pushes that envelope. And so Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez working together, holy crap. Like match made in hell. And it really does show in that movie.
Rory Herbert has raised an interesting point that I do need to. Okay, guys, I forgot I was in Susan's backyard for a moment. Sorry, guys. What do you reckon this week, guys? You know how it goes.
Mistake through the heart of that like button.
Yeah, find that subscribe button, shoot it with a crossbow, and then get it yanked out on a pickup truck's pulley line. What would you call it? Just tow that subscribe button out into the sun where it'll set on fire. There we go.
Take that like button to the seedy hotel room with all your friends and spend 2 weeks drinking and whoring with it.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Just you can share that stream around.
Spend 600 years looking for the black cross with the subscribe button. And when you find it, crucify the subscribe button until it changes.
Fantastic. We are sneaking up on 1,000, guys. It's going to happen. That House of 1,000 Corpses stream is going to happen. I can see it. It's nearly there.
Oh, boy.
just a quick one, actually. Just talking about sort of like the channel status. YouTube recently announced that they're going to be reducing the entry bar for the community tab, so it's going from 1,000 to 500. So you should be getting that in the next few days. So in terms of communicating with your audience, all 957 and rising,
Oh, that
you
will be
should
lovely.
have. Once you've got that, then you'll be able to start effectively shilling through your
Oh,
own channel.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
one of the few good things that this channel, this website's done.
Freudian slip there. That Freud guy.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Standard YouTube stuff aside, sharing is the best thing you can do. We don't always talk about films in a way that Susan particularly approves of, or in a way that most horror channels do. We don't tend to do things in a very timely fashion here. We tend to do interesting films, and we do them in great depth. And I think it's not particularly algorithm friendly the way things do it. So, but the people who do find us seem to really like what we're doing here, and I really appreciate that. So, best thing you can do for us is share the stream round.
And the Matrix is a trans allegory.
No.
Yeah,
Really?
just remind all your progressive friends about my videos on the Matrix. And we did that risky stream last week on RuPaul's Drag Race. Did you know it's completely blocked in America and the UK now?
Are you serious? Why? Oh, is it because you used? It's probably because you used video from the show.
I did. I used a very particular clip that they try and keep off the internet. But for some reason, they're just really not letting my copyright appeal go through. But once that is done, I guess I'll just trim that bit out and the stream will be available again. I try to use the smallest amount possible, but they really don't want you seeing the clip from their female or she-male episode.
Oh.
They're very determined that that doesn't stay on YouTube. Oh, dear.
That's why you put it on BitChute.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I should have done. Anyway, we'll back to this. Vampires.
Yep. Yeah. So what you said was perfect in the beginning. Is it really does have that feel of like Ghostbusters, which is just like, all right, paranormal horror, an ancient primeval paranormal horror from beyond the outer gates. Yeah, let's get the 4 schlubby exterminators on it with nuclear accelerators on their back. They'll take care of that problem, And it's like, ancient evil, ancient magical, devilish evils that feast on the blood of the innocent living. Get a hungover guy and a bunch of his ne'er-do-well friends and arm them to the teeth and send them after it. Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Is it me or did these guys? They gave off the impression that like they were organized, but I think when push came to shove, they were winging it, weren't they?
One of the reasons why I love the first half hour of this movie is exactly that.
Yeah,
where you got James Woods and he's like, and he's just running on tobacco, alcohol, and anger. Like he's just like he's just like, God, stop opening that door so loudly. Open up the windows. And
didn't make it Deckard.
and everyone's like getting thrown around like they're rag dolls from like 2 vampires. And they're not even really big bad vampires. They're just goons, as they call them. But like eventually through sheer numbers and weapons, they're able to overcome these 2 creatures and drag them out into the proverbial light. And then you get the wonderful montage of them performing pest control in this big abandoned house, and it's perfect. And I would have really loved to have seen more of that. But unfortunately, John Carpenter has a story to tell.
Well, there's that. So something interesting we should note about the production, as well as it being like really clearly determined to not be a standard vampire film, to be very much its own thing and genre breaking. One of the problems they had is that, according to production notes, at the last minute, they got their budget slashed from $60 million to 20.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely brutal what they did. And apparently that led to John Carpenter doing a fairly hasty rewrite of the script to accommodate this, understandably. I mean, I'm guessing that guerrilla filmmaking background was very helpful there, because I think that very much informs why the team is wiped out incredibly quickly after this initial raid.
Well, yeah, you notice how that's got a really big bombastic beginning, and then like the really really nice slaughter in like the first in like the first 45, and oh man, that's so
yes.
Like about this is really interesting. Like I have a problem with it because, okay, you've got some really good actors there. You've got Kariyuki Fukunaga, who we will all remember and love as Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat.
Oh my god, yes.
You get him for about 2 minutes of the film. I love that guy. I want him. I want more of him. And we barely got any, which is a shame. But it's a handy way of managing the budget. But also story-wise, it's good for the sort of metrics of power, because you saw it took about a dozen of them to take out 4 goons in a kind of messy fashion, but they did manage it.
Oh, 9 technically, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, 9 goons. Oh, was it 9 of them?
It was 9 in the house total.
Yeah, cool. And then it does show you how powerful a master is, that he can just plow through them, and then you're aware of the power dynamics of 2 of them versus 1 guy. So it does help get the threat level up there and just show the absolute dominance of the master here, Valek. I mean, if you're not clear from this shot just how dominating Valek is, like
I also
help. Just
yeah, the guy is really really split down the middle when it comes to these issues. Valek, or as I like to call him, discount Christopher Walken. He just walks in, absorbs everything that these guys throw at him, and then proceeds to murder the priest, the cop, all the vampire hunters, and all the whores. All of them just wiped out.
12 women listed as hookers. It was so funny.
Yeah, I just want to mention as well, like during this scene, because before the massacre happens, they're talking about. I think, I don't know if they're in a bar. No, they're not in a bar. They're obviously chatting all these like hookers up, and they're like, "Oh, what'd you do?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, we're vampire hunters," and they sort of shrug it off, like, No one ever believes us." They're like, "Yeah, no, we're vampire hunters. You know, we go around killing vampires, blah blah blah. There is a god. We just don't understand him." I want to just emphasize that for a second, or for now, because I think it will come up later in the film, and why I think there's a bit of a just a little bit of a plot hole. But
it was a tiny bit. I did struggle to understand like how common knowledge vampires were.
Well,
because the hookers don't seem to know, and then they take an effort to cover it all up. So
I think, and also James Woods is pulled as well at this point.
Yeah, did you notice who he pulled? Because we should probably talk about her now.
Yeah, good.
That was Cheryl Lee, who was Laura Palmer and Laura Palmer's cousin Maddie in Twin Peaks. I tried watching Twin Peaks recently. I'm afraid I did not get through it. I made about 5 episodes in, and with the best will in the world, I felt David Lynch was screwing with me too much.
Oh, he is. Don't worry.
So I couldn't get through it, but I did love the music. It's not quite one for me. I think Elephant Man and Mulholland Drive are going to be my David Lynch films of choice.
Dune? Well, I wouldn't really call Dune a David Lynch movie. David Lynch doesn't even call Dune a David Lynch movie.
he gets a good deal out of it. Like, my understanding of Dune is that he basically agreed to make Dune on as long as they would fund his next movie. So he'll do that project for them, and then he can do what he wants to do.
Yeah, something.
Not a bad deal.
Trust me, the utter S show that is that Dune movie is a deep dive in and of itself.
I can see why people like it, though, from a sort of manic energy angle.
Yeah, you know, that's what happens when you condense a, you know, what a 2,400 page trilogy into an hour and a half movie. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Good call on those years. Lost Highway is pretty darn fab too.
Lost Highway, excellent movie.
All right. Yeah, so it's Cheryl Lee in this film as, yes, a hooker who gets bitten by Valak in a very saucy scene, I think.
Very saucy.
She gets bit in a very uncomfortable place, and I don't mean the back of a VW Beetle.
Yeah, it's I mean, we talked about the sort of gruff hunters here, but these vampires are brilliant because they are not polished aristocrats.
No.
Although James Woods has a good turn of phrase for them. Valak is kind of the closest to that because he is, we find out, he is the OG vampire, the original one.
Yeah.
And he dresses a bit more stereotypically, but even so,
he's
dresses a savage beast, you know.
Yeah, he dresses like he's a Matrix reject.
Mm.
Which, you mentioned you went over the Matrix, so whew, oh boy, I haven't seen those videos of yours yet, but
they annoyed no one. No one got angry at all. I don't still get angry comments a year later.
Oh, did what was your? I'm sorry, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. Let's see what I did. What was your brief? What did you think of the Matrix? I'm just curious.
Oh, right. Like, I like them as a film, but I made the video because there was a weird hyped up thread about the Matrix being a trans allegory. And it's absolutely not. It makes no sense on any level.
No,
it just, the nicest thing you can say about that is that there's a bunch of things that can be interpreted in isolation as being imagery that work for that. But if you try and actually put that together in any kind of narrative, I did a follow-up because people kept making stupid arguments, and I think I ended up summarizing it as, if you're saying that the cast of the Nebuchadnezzar are trans, it's about transition, then you're saying that when they go back into the Matrix and can change everything, it's basically saying because of their trans status, they get access to all kinds of funds and things they shouldn't have, and are able to break the laws and pay no consequences, etc. Which obviously doesn't hold up. Sorry, I'm tired and I phrase that badly. Watch the video. I explain how it all kind of ends up as a self-own if you try and do that.
Oh yeah.
So that was the whole thing. But sorry, we wandered off. Cheryl Lee here is sort of the main female character, but like
pretty much the only one.
This is an incredibly 90s movie in kind of a fun way, in like a Predator way where just bros can bro out. And it feels very consciously like that. Like, every woman in it is a hooker.
Not everyone. Most.
No, there is an old lady who cleans a church, you know.
Exactly. We don't know she's whoring. She might be, but
you never know.
Whores or savage beasts, you know. This should be John Dee's favorite film. We should send him this. I don't think she gets much to do in this, but she does a pretty good job of what she's given, to be honest. It's not a massively demanding role.
Yeah, I was going to say she doesn't do much in the film, but her role in it's quite central to the plot.
Yeah, she's a storyline linchpin. She just doesn't have much to say.
Yeah.
You just, I feel bad for her in that scene where she's getting bitten in a very French way.
Ah,
That must have been uncomfortable to film. Gosh. And yeah, so we're still basically in the first bit. I mean, the plot for this is pretty simple, to be honest, and I think part of that is the result of that budget cut that they had forced on them last minute. But it's very streamlined, to be honest. You have that initial raid that goes well. They can't find the master they're expecting to. They start partying. There's this wonderful massacre which clears out most of the cast and delivers you a whole host of gore early on. And then you have two guys making the exit. Montoya and, why do I never remember the name? Jack Crow.
Jack Crow.
James Woods.
James Woods. It's going to be easier, isn't it?
He's playing James Woods, random McAction man. If you really want to get down to it, it's James Woods. But
he ends up fleeing it, and then their mission is to take down this master. And they've got Cheryl Lee, who's been bitten and has a psychic link. And it's pretty streamlined, to be honest.
Oh yeah, it's really kind of no nonsense. I do enjoy the very Terminator 2-esque driving away scene.
Yeah,
where like where discount Christopher Walken is like flying after them, and he jumps on and the lesser Baldwin takes out the Deagle and just bam right between the eyes.
It's a really good sort of establishing of the lore in those scenes, you know. I mean, I kind of cracked up when James Woods just stakes a vampire right in the forehead. That doesn't do it, but it kind of annoys them.
It makes James Woods feel better.
And then just towing them out into the sun to burn. It's like, it's such a John Carpenter thing. It's such original imagery.
Oh yeah.
And then that chase is just establishing, okay, Valak can move super fast. But shoot him in the head, he will fall off. You won't kill him, but he'll fall off.
Yeah, it'll slow him down.
He is susceptible to the rules of gravity and inertia.
Yes.
Much like the T-1000, you won't stop him, but you might slow him down enough to escape.
I paused this frame when they're sort of making their hasty getaway and they need to change vehicles. They acquire this vehicle. Do you know who the man being robbed is?
Oh God.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Do not worry, not a familiar face, but an interesting name. That is Frank Darabont, director of The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, The Mist, which I'm sure we will cover at some point.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that movie.
Cheeky little cameo.
Oh, actually, speaking of that, he doesn't feature in the film, but Greg Nicotero had his creative hand in this film, and obviously for those who know The Walking Dead will know that Greg Nicotero was heavily involved with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we can say. Another lovely thing about this, as we talked about fairly extensively, the CGI is not used in this. We just get practical effects, and the guys bringing that to you are Greg Nicotero, Howard Berger, and Robert Kurtzman. Berger, very good lad, very reliable. I'm just going to do a little ref check so I can see, just to give you an extra reference. Nicotero, obviously, you'll know from The Walking Dead.
I actually really like this carjacking scene, just because of the simplicity of it.
Yeah, and
it was literally nothing convoluted. He literally just sticks his head in the car. Oh, what are you doing, mate? Oh, going to take your car. No, you're not. Gun to the head. Yeah, here you go. Here's the keys, mate.
Yeah, Daniel Baldwin has a certain, I don't know, it's hard to like. He's not a likable guy in this.
No.
Not many people are.
Yeah, to be fair. One
of the charms of this movie. Like in the scene that happens right before this carjacking, James Woods and the Lesser Baldwin like are screaming at each other about psychic this and car crashing that, and everyone's just pissed off. And then there's this little montage of them walking, and I still am not completely convinced that this was not planned. James Woods, it's James Woods next to the road. What's her name in the middle, and the Lesser Baldwin on the far side, and then just out of nowhere, James Woods just pushes the woman down onto the ground, and he just keeps walking, and I'm like, James, was please tell me that was planned.
He's just so grumpy, and I think on some level, Carpenter's just messing with us, like having James Woods flip out on the priest repeatedly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How many times does he just kick the crap out of that priest? Just...
Oh God, I love it. He just proceeds to beat the ever-loving crap out of the priest over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah, they fight over everything. He flips out because he wants to do it his own way. He goes and disposes of the crew his own way for no reason other than he's annoyed. It's a whole mood. It takes quite a while to get into it, to get into that vibe, and we do eventually get this brilliant scene. Like, I really think this is Carpenter messing with us, because he just has James Woods be in there and be meeting a bishop, an archbishop. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's a bishop of some kind. But I do like how you just glanced over. He disposes of his old crew. By that you mean violently blowing up the entire hotel.
Oh, and
not to mention decapitating them in the process.
Yeah,
yeah, and then dropping their heads in a shallow grave.
It's quite. I should have got the picture of it. James Woods, when he walks away from the explosion, he doesn't look back, and it's just it's such the cliche. But
of course he doesn't look at the explosion. Real men don't do that, and also James Woods is way too hungover to look at something that bright.
I just feel like this movie, like with a group of friends, with some beer, with some pizza, you're gonna have a good time. Like that scene is glorious, and after that, then just the kind of mundane thing of him dropping the sack full of heads down and burying it is so. And it gets very. The news say they find it like an hour later, apparently. So
much like with the first thing, with the first scene, of how, just like, oh God, all right, drag the vampires out into the sun. Okay, stake that one, drag it out. Okay, no, shoot that one. Now stake it in the head, drag that one out. It's like, all right, decapitate my friends, drop fill the rooms up with gasoline, blow it up, drop the heads in the shallow grave, and then go to church. Like you do.
Classic. Yeah, this is one of the wilder elements of it. He gets patted down by a security guard and kind of gives a security guard some attitude as well. Like, nah.
No, yeah, he's gonna reach for the gun. He's like, no, I don't think so.
Nah, not the Magnum.
In yet another scene that I am not sure was planned, because James Woods.
I do get a feel of a lot of improvisation from this.
Do you know, that's what I felt. If I could sum this film up, I felt like it was the directors had given them a very, very, very rough overview of what the film was meant to be, and then just went, make it up as you go along.
That's the thing.
It felt incredibly improv.
No, that's the thing when you get an actor like James Woods. I know I've been saying it a lot, but you don't get in the way. If you hire James Woods, you know what you're getting, and you just go, all right, James, this is your character. Go. Turn the camera off.
Yeah, he's just bullying the younger actor. Quite a funny
bullying everyone. That's the thing. I love it.
Why are you making me look like a fucking Kevin Bacon? Just shut up.
Oh God, the trolling of the priest, like when you stay to give you a word, like no, it's when I kicked you, give you a word, like that had to have been improvised just to mess with the guy.
Yeah, but it comes back later in the film, doesn't it?
It does. It's a lovely little callback. It's one of the weirder callbacks.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are. I mean, that's a clear sign of director and writer John Carpenter knowing what he's doing. You know, he lots of callbacks, lots of foreshadowing, stuff like that.
Yeah, we basically now I will say at this point we from about here we enter a bit of the film that I really actually didn't like for quite a while.
Okay.
And I'm trying to be quite forgiving of it because I think the middle bit was a section that was most hit by their massive budget cut. I mean, remembering they got a third of their budget to work with. And I think that explains a lot of what we get in the middle section of the film, where basically Wood splits off to talk to the bishop and then get a new companion. Gets his new little priest minion, who just bullies and beats up repeatedly for something to do. And they try and get a little more information on what Valak is up to, what's going on there. And Daniel Baldwin as Montoya is just sent to babysit Cheryl Lee as she is turning into a vampire and try and get information based on the psychic link. James Woods and his priest friend do a lot of their scenes in a truck and on an open road. Very budget friendly.
And don't need a lot of permits for that, do you?
No, you do not. And if studios have yanked your money at short notice with no good reason, yeah, it's very sensible. And of course, the other solution is that Montoya and Cheryl Lee get stuck in a motel room for a lot of the movie. It's somewhat of a shame, but it's understandable. Forgive the screen cap. I think we should be fine. I've reduced the amount of bubbage that is included.
You might want to put a smiley face on that behind there.
I think we've got a curve. We haven't got any kind of cleftage. I think we're probably safe. I maybe won't keep this one up too long, but I'll also say I wasn't a massive fan of this because of how damn creepy Montoya is towards her throughout the film.
Well, I mean, again, much like hiring James Woods, you hire a Baldwin, you're going to get creepy. I'm just saying.
He just told the wardrobe people to go away that day.
Yeah. No, just let the cameras roll. I'll take care of the scene.
She has to be naked though. Just
gotta be naked. Yeah.
She does make a point of it, like calling him out, like, can I get dressed now? Like, it's so weird because like the reason she's naked is there that they wanted to check for bites and everything, but also it's a little bit of eye candy. It's a little bit of, hey, we're going to be R-rated. We're going to be 18 rated anyway. And so I think they were throwing that in quite with gay abandon.
Yeah, they took advantage of that R rating, didn't they?
They certainly. I mean, we didn't even talk about the. It's not just a party, you know. It's. Oh, hello.
No, I'm all right.
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool. I did notice some of the playback get a little weird there. Hopefully, we're okay. I'm not seeing any more warning on our end on stream strength. Chat, are we buffering? Are we okay? Are you getting good quality here? Just let us know.
I've had it on. I've had the stream on off to the side. It looks good. Looks good on my end.
Fantastic. Yeah. So this is, I think, quite obviously a budget saving measure. It's okay. Thanks, chat. Appreciate that. Also, hey, James. Yeah, it's a budget saving measure. Okay, there is some buffering. Okay, so hopefully you guys are okay. And you will get the full stream, which hopefully not too much of a bother. Yeah, this is a classic film in a motel room. Do all your exposition there. Save yourself a whole lot of money. So I'm kind of forgiving. They didn't plan this. I think this was forced on them.
I'm just thinking, was the decision to have Cheryl Starkers in this scene maybe an attempt to save on the wardrobe as well.
Well, she does only wear like one outfit through the
Yeah.
entire thing.
Yeah,
One of the
listen,
things,
Cheryl, we had a whole wardrobe lined up for you, but you know we've just lost $40 million. So I'm afraid you're gonna have to film some of this naked.
I suspect on a very real level, there's a sort of, you want to show things to the audience to keep them intrigued, and if you can't really do a big action piece on some level, you might throw a bit of nudity in there.
Yeah.
well, I mean, Lord knows they threw in enough in that bit before the massacre.
Yeah,
They got boobies flying all over the place. It's like it was a young, barely pubescent Wes's dream. That scene. It's like, what, boobs and then gore? Yeah.
I can imagine kids like catching this on late night TV in the late 90s and just thinking they'd hit the absolute jackpot.
Oh yeah.
And it is that kind of, it's kind of like, you know, a Demon Knight, like that sort of vibe. Like it's not highbrow. It's not highbrow at all. It's aiming to be fun. But I have got the screen cap because, as well as like getting a bit grumpy with it just being in a hotel room the whole time, I did find like the seediness of this quite unpleasant. I'm going to be honest with you. And it almost became, but it kind of turned into something like a running joke with the Montoya character. Like, we just sort of noticed every time he had a chance to smack a woman, he did. And it got kind of funny. Like, even in the finale, you know, they do that one successful vampire kill, and it's a dude. And then it's a female vampire, and they're struggling. And Montoya just comes in and shoots the crap out of her. And at that point, we were just laughing our heads off because
exactly.
he didn't even know she was a vampire. It's just he needed to patrol the thoughts.
One thing that I did want to mention.
I disagree. Well, if he started off as a thought patroller, he ended up as a hardcore sim.
Oh, nice.
Oh, well, that comes later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He ends up as it, you know, sees the error. Well, I say he sees the error of his ways, but that would be asked backwards.
One thing that I do want to mention is something that's often overlooked when it comes to these movies, and not just this one, but most of Carpenter's movies. I mentioned it earlier in the stream, but he is also the composer for all the music.
Oh, yes, of course.
He makes all the music for his movies. So the highly tense music of The Thing, the bombastic over the top music of Big Trouble in Little China, the legendary synth wave of Escape from New York, and the depressing deep guitar strings. So like the Southwest style deep guitar strings of this one is and it's all John Carpenter. And the music really makes the movie in this.
And if I can pitch in for the, I don't particularly remember In the Mouth of Madness being all that memorable for music, but the Halloween theme,
oh yeah,
absolutely iconic. Like everyone in the series has been beholden to that. I won't try and mimic it because I have no talent in that regard, but
I'm not going to do it.
No, it's fine. if you know Halloween, you know the theme tune. So yeah, it all helps in this, and I think you just see he kind of knows what to do with a low budget. Like, he's got great special effects guys on team, and he has this interesting thing here. So Montoya gets bitten. That obviously comes into play later. It helps establish that Cheryl Lee is turning and is going to be a bit of a threat. It's nice that they set that up. They keep it going. They keep building it.
Yeah,
it's a nice bit of tension. If you're going to get this information on Valek, it's going to get dangerous.
Yeah, it was quite good. Obviously, build that to that.
That crown guy, you're roboting there, mate. Yeah.
Back.
Do you want
to back now?
Hang on. Give it a go.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. Let's have another go.
So yeah, I was saying just building up from there. So she obviously gone into the bathroom to go and get changed, and then she started to have she started to get that telepathic connection to the master. Started like getting a bit all woozy and whatnot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then she obviously goes up the bathroom window to jump out. Although it's odd because she's going to kill herself, but yeah, she's moving across the building to the point where Baldwin can get her. But yeah, it's sort of like, she's like, I don't want to live, rah, rah, rah. So he ends up, pulling her through the window, smashing the glass in the process. And then, yeah, she just changes, didn't she? She goes almost like instinct. She and then latches onto his arm. You don't expect it. And I thought that was pretty well done in that regard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was, it's making good use of what they've got. And it's kind of iconic, him realizing he inevitably screwed up and then finding quite a fun way to get her back. It's memorable, right?
Oh, yeah. Just a bit.
Yeah. And then just him coming up and slapping her and just having a great time with that. This is such a 90s movie. You can just imagine the reaction to trying to show this to people today.
Well, as someone who has introduced quite a few people to this movie in the past, in modern day, it's mainly laughter.
Yes.
But I don't introduce it to people who I know would be too sensitive for it.
No, sensible. It is generally the kind of frenetic energy that you just kind of have to get into. Like trying to, yeah. I wouldn't, how can I say? You'd have to be sure people get the vibe of it. But we then get this little scene here which really impressed me. Again, in that kind of thing you talked about how the lore gets built. We get this thing of, okay, you've been bitten, but you can try and help yourself by cauterizing the wound.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, you can tell, I think there was a bit of competitiveness with the special effects artist, because it would be the easiest thing in the world for him to light up and then sort of shield it with his hand with some natural movement. And then you could VFX a flame in. That mirror is there to be very emphatic, like, oh no, we're doing this, just so you know.
Yeah.
Just makes the effect that much harder to pull off, and it's kind of like showing off by the effects artists.
No, between that and the fact that that the lesser Baldwin here is visibly drunk in this scene. the lidded eyes, the slightly slurred speech, like like you could tell that a bad time was had in a lot of the filming of this movie. But but again, man, it adds to the fact that these guys, they are not heroes. They are not the noble, the noble, like, selfless knights who valiantly lay their lives down. No, they're outcasts. They're drunkards. Like, you get a glimpse of why James Woods does this in the previous scene with the bishop and the new priest. But, like, I always assumed that all of these guys, like, again, going back to the first scene where you're introduced to all these guys, they all look broken.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Absolutely, yeah.
These men are obviously, like, the reason why they do this is because they either got their lives ruined, by vampires, or something happened to them that they're basically willing to throw their lives away in order to fight an ancient evil, and they do not care. And it's like that. I love that. I love that aesthetic. I love it. And Discount Baldwin here, Montoya, as his character is called, is a perfect example of that. And you could have very easily replaced this Montoya with almost any of the other characters.
Absolutely, yeah.
That any of them, like the really tactical guy with the backwards hat, Shang Tsung. The guy who got his head blown off in Total Recall. Yeah, any of them, like
Running Man.
Sorry, Running Man. Apologies. But like, yeah, like you could like I could. Can you imagine what this movie would have been like if Shang Tsung was with him?
Yeah.
less shambolic, although I'd love to see Kari Fukunaga just drunk and doing this stuff, actually. But I'd watch him doing anything.
What was that movie he did with Sean Connery? Oh God, Rising Sun. Yeah, he did. Sean Connery was an expert in Japanese culture in that movie, and there's nothing better than Sean Connery speaking Japanese. Konnichiwa.
Was it as good as he's Russian?
Yeah, pretty much. It's about as good as his Russian. Yeah, no, like that. By the way, that Rising Sun. That is a hidden gem there. But anyway, but I honestly, that's one of the things that I never really got. Like, why Montoya? You know, it's like, what? Why? I would there's a part of me that would have preferred like the schlubby guy who was split.
Yeah,
who had to split early on.
I thought I recognized that guy. He had a really familiar face. I just want to apologize here. I messed up. I said our Shang Tsung guy, I called Kari Joji Fukunaga because I'm an idiot, and that is a director, I think, of it. The guy I mean is Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. Apologies, I'm an idiot.
I don't know anything.
Live streaming, and I messed the name up. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa is the guy that we are talking about.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to use replacer names that get the job done. So hey.
Yeah. I messed up on an actor I like, so yes, I want to skip by. Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned the sort of that no one's having a good time on set in these scenes, because I think that's partially why I struggled with the middle portion, because I think it didn't have the fun vibe. It was very tense.
Yeah.
It didn't have the good mood of the start or the end.
Yeah, you can tell the majority of the budget was put in the beginning and the ending. With that, there was that one bit at again, John Carpenter, brilliant filmmaker, right at the 1 hour mark, which is the next scene, where discount Christopher Walken gets the Black Cross. That I don't know if you pay attention to such things, but I personally do. Right at the half hour mark, right at the to the second, right at the half hour mark, James Woods is back at the hotel room looking at the remains of his friends and all the whores, right? And to the second, right at the 1 hour mark, discount Christopher Walken pops up out of the ground with his new little horde and proceeds to murder an entire mission of monks in order to get the Black Cross. It's so well paced, and that is the sign of a really good movie.
I do, but that's really interesting you say that. Like we've got the time, so we could take a few minutes on this. Just I would say if we're going to criticize Carpenter, I think his pacing is something that is very hit or miss. I may take some punishment for that.
No,
I'm thinking of like They Live is a particular thing of it really takes quite a long time to get going.
Oh, hold on now. Hold on now. Don't you go dissing the best fight scene in cinematic history now.
I'm just keen to get to that fight scene. But there is something like you watch an older movie and maybe you notice it is slower paced, and I'm usually okay with that. I do think in some Carpenters it's slightly off. Just in a few of them, it's just like a little too long.
I think that's just a Carpenter thing, you know. Like Halloween takes forever to get going. Like obviously the tension is there, and the thing, I mean, what is it? It's like the 45-minute mark that the dog scene happens. Which, by the way, I pissed so many people off. So you know the dog scene, right?
Oh, you don't forget it.
The kennel scene. Yeah. So, like the what's his name? Isaac. He puts the dog in the kennel, and he's like, you have a good night there, boy. And he closes the door and he kind of looks back and he shuts the light off. And then all the dogs, they start freaking out, and the dog is standing there. And, oh my God, it was such a good job with the fucking dog. Sorry. And then right when the close-up happens, I pause the movie and I go, so trigger warning, content warning. This is the point where if you don't like gore or if you don't like bad things happening to animals, you might want to look away. And the chat was just filled with death threats. Personally, I love doing that to people.
No, not for me.
Because after that, it is just some of the goriest stuff that has ever been put to film that will legitimately give you nightmares. So I did feel the need to go, hey, look, if you don't want to see it.
Cruel. Yeah, okay. I hadn't actually noticed that, but that's kind of interesting if he has gone like really structured with it.
Yeah, he's usually like that. Like you like, but I think you did hit the nail on the head there by saying that. Yeah, it's this is almost to the minute. It's like an hour 47. Including the credits. So I do think that the budget cuts played a significant role on that.
Yeah, I looked at it and it seemed to come out to basically 100 minutes, like around you've got the quite long credits at the end. It didn't mess around much with the credits at the start, which they often do. Like if you want to pad your movie out back in the day, you'd have the long credits at the start.
Yeah,
and they didn't do that. But
no,
it's not hanging around. So yeah, I also paused on this image because it's good Carpenter framing, but it's also like great metal album cover. I had to.
Yeah, I like this bit. I did like this bit, but I just trying to work out where he gathered these people from. I mean, obviously you don't see it, but it's just interesting how like he just has this little army just pre-prepared, and also like how quick did it take for these people to turn? This is when we say about establishing the lore of the movies. This was one of the criticisms that I kind of had with the main characters. It seemed to be quite consistent. You hear it takes about sort of like between sort of 3 to 5 days for the for the change to fully take place. But I mean, I can only assume that these people got like turned the night before.
Well, that's not what I always thought that this was just another hive. Like this is the first vampire ever. Like there's nothing to say that he doesn't have like much like kind of like terrorist cells. He just has just hives all over the place that he can call on when necessary. That's the way that was the like. There's no indication that that's what it is, but that was just the assumption that I personally always made. Maybe this was another hive.
I just assumed that he managed to just recruit these people. Well, I say recruit them, but like he turned these people whilst on his way to going to the is it the monastery for the Black Cross?
That's what I got for it, and I think he just had to do it this way. But
and part of what reinforced that theory was the fact that when they're talking about, I can't remember exactly where, but they're talking about it's when they're chatting up the women. They explicitly mention that the vampires don't want to be seen. They don't want to be found out. They intentionally keep their numbers low, and so I just assumed that this Count Christopher Walken's hive was just the one hive, and that hive was the one that they cleared out at the beginning of the film. But again, I would have imagined. I mean, I don't know. I mean, was he traveling over a period of a few days? I mean, it's difficult to tell. But I would have imagined that the transformation process for these vampires would have been a lot quicker than say like Alec Baldwin and Cheryl Lee's characters.
Yeah.
There
No,
was just the
I
one
just
inconsistency that I assumed. I could be wrong.
no, I just always assumed it was just another nest.
Yeah.
And like this is the OG vampire. You know, that's like you're a group, you're a platoon on patrol, but when a colonel comes by and goes, I need you for something, come with me, you go, you know,
Yeah, I
like
suppose.
I'm guessing
that's
he could have directed them get to this spot. I mean, he seems to have psychic links, so
yeah,
maybe he could psychically order them to get there.
actually
Bury yourself during the
yeah.
day and we'll rise at night.
To be fair,
sort of deal.
Wes, actually thinking about it again, you kind of do have a point. If I'm not mistaken, these vampires that are with him are masters as well.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure
they're big
masters.
boys.
They're all masters, aren't they? Yeah, actually thinking about it, your theory might be right. Actually,
That
I've
that
also-
does make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the master of the masters. It makes sense that he's got, you know, other masters all over that he can summon. Basically, like having hose in different area codes. You know, he can get them when he needs to, right?
Ludicrous.
Yeah, you also got to keep in mind.
Yeah, ludicrous situation, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
No, you got to remember, man. I watched this in theaters,
Mm.
so you know, like I was a kid when it happened. I was in middle school, but like I remember watching this in theaters with my dad. So like I've seen this movie plenty of times since then. So I have had to, and also I fancy myself a bit of a writer. So
Okay.
like I have always like had these ideas just, you know, rattling around in my head, thinking up things. So it's very, very possible I just thought of like just filled in a plot hole. But you know, it is a good point. These are masters. These are guys who have been here a while. So
Yeah.
take of it what you will.
No, man.
At the very least, Carpenter could have done a better job explaining it. Not having two characters standing in front of each other going, I think they're masters, and I think that they got there from another hive, and oh no, it is so sad that he is able to. No, just show it. Do a better job.
Yeah, there would have been that's really interesting thing that you've got on. Like, I'd like to get onto this now because this is something I was picking up on, and I'm going to be really lenient to this film because I know they were doing hasty rewrites that weren't their fault. But I do think it's interesting that they had two sources of information: a priest who's kind of hiding secrets until you beat them out of him, and the sort of risky information you can get from Cheryl Lee via psychics. And I think that there could have been a lot more done with those two sources of information and debating over how trustworthy they were, how accurate they were, kind of testing with that, and even kind of them trying to work out if these are masters or not, and maybe even a nice bit of lore about what's the difference between a master and a goon, and can you tell?
Yeah.
That's all stuff that I think if there had been maybe less rush, less swift script changes, less improvisation, they might have been able to get into the film.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
Missed opportunities.
You know, because you got you got Blade, the movie that came out later this year, and man, they do such a good job of the world building in that. And it would have been nice to see more of that. But I don't know if y'all know this. I was going to save this for the ending, but it's a good time to say it here. You know, this is a part one of a trilogy, right?
Yeah, I felt like they were opening up for sequels based on the ending.
Yeah.
But I think, what was I going to say?
The spoiler alert, they're not that good.
Do you mean the directed video sequels?
Yeah.
Oh wait, there were actual sequels. Oh my word.
This is there are 3 vampires movies, but much like the 2011 thing, no one remembers them. Hell, no one remembers this movie. So what? I mean, it's not like it matters.
I was. That's right. That's what I was going to say. Talking about the characters with information. So young Padre, I'll call him because the other Reverend was also Padre.
Oh,
but
Father
the young one, that geezer's an expert. He does this big exposition dump on Jack Crow's character at one point when he's like, "Oh yeah, I've read up all about you," and then he just goes into detail about his upbringing, about how he was, obviously how his parents were killed by vampires, brought into the church, raised from a young age to hunt and track down and kill vampires. It was kind of like, okay. I didn't mind it too much. But it just felt very sudden. It's just sort of like scene change. Here I am. Oh, by the way, I know everything there is to know about you.
It is an unfortunate, and again, I think it's one of the many casualties of the budget cuts.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing is, I wasn't aware of the budget cuts at the time of watching this. I actually watched it twice before we did the streams.
Oh wow!
I didn't mind it too much when it happened. Just because of the general sort of pacing and the tone of the film. But now that you guys have mentioned the fact that, this film lost $40 million due to budget cuts, it kind of makes sense why they would just sort of throw it in just so that, me as the viewer gets a little bit more information about James Woods' character. But they don't really have the time to just throw it all in because of budget constraints and timing. So... yeah, it was fine.
Have you seen Prince of Darkness?
No.
All right. Wes, have you seen Prince of Darkness? Wes might have dropped away.
No, sorry. Yeah, of course. Yes.
Okay, cool. I was going to say it in a way that information dropping sort of reminded me of that quite a bit. I'm working on a longer video about Prince of Darkness because I think that's one where the pacing is very... I've got to be honest, I think the pacing is very bad in Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
And the management of information is very bad. And it's sort of, I figure it's worth a whole video on it. And I think it might be something that Carpenter struggles with occasionally.
So you've got movies like Prince of Darkness, Village of the Damned, hell, to a point, even Starman, where it is a bit slow, bit on the slow side. Doesn't exactly do a great job of getting at the point and stuff like that. And yeah, it happens. There's a reason why I didn't bring up specifically Prince of Darkness and Village of the Damned. They are definitely not among my favorite movies. If I remember correctly, I think quite a few folks like Village of the Damned, but I was just not a fan. Like it's like you said, not very well paced, not very well done. You've got Christopher Reeve in there, you got Kirstie Alley in there, like heavy hitters of the '80s, but not the best in my opinion.
No, it's something he struggles with, and I feel like sometimes when he's writing with Deborah Hill, I think it gets better with that extra script consultation on it. And there's some other stuff in this, like so we've got to the bit where the masters have risen, they've gone and attacked a monastery. Great little scene, great little gore effects are in there, and he takes the cross, and you're like, oh, okay, he can touch a cross. That's interesting.
Well, they established it, didn't they, earlier on when he was like, again, talking to young Padre. He's like, yeah, crosses don't mean nothing. Garlic means nothing. It's literally just a stake in the heart and send him outside for a suntan.
I don't know how you feel about this, but I thought when we got the reveal, when Jack Crow beats the crap out of the priest for the 14th time, well, like he's just held him down in an Arby's, teabagging him. Give me the info, or I'm dunking him in your eyeballs again. It was late. I forget the exact specifics, but I think he did get the old pink pancake on his eyeballs. Anyway, and the sort of backstory of Valek is revealed, and the plan is the Black Cross will let him be a daywalker, effectively. Did you guys feel that was maybe a little low stakes?
Well, it's not that it's low stakes. It's that, like, the only weakness that this guy has, pretty much, he's gonna lose it, which means that he could pretty much do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And I think it was that like all of the vampires that he turned after that point would be daywalkers too. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure that was the other thing. And also it's like a holy relic and it's got power in and of itself. So, that too.
Yeah.
One thing that's always bugged me about vampires in general. Why don't they wear chest plates?
I
What do
don't
you
know. We would wait until Army of the Dead to get a similar innovation.
Yeah, just
Are you talking about why don't the vampires wear chest plates?
Yeah, why not? I mean, because you mentioned it. Obviously, once he become a daywalker, all he's got to do is just protect the his chest area, and he would literally be unstoppable.
With one of the there's a book series. It's among I would argue it is my favorite book series. It's called the Dresden Files, and they're like 17, 18 books in, and they get into I always have a tendency to fill in supernatural gaps with the explanations from those books because they fit so naturally.
Right.
And like one of the explanations for that is twofold. One, they are not human. They are animalistic by nature, and they don't tend to think outside the box like that.
Okay.
And two, they have a very old school mentality when they do think outside the box. So their mindset is always a couple, like 200-300 years in the past, which oftentimes gives modern people an advantage because we have tools and mindsets that are much more tactically minded and you can use against them. As the main character of the Dresden Files says many times, no one expects to be shot in the face by a wizard.
I might need to read these books. That's awesome.
I will get you in the right direction after the stream. I will be more than happy. I am a huge fan of that book series.
Oh, nifty. So anyway, we've one of the good things about this story is it's not overcomplicated. Your crew does the action, master wipes out your crew, you spend a whole bunch of time trying to work out what the master's up to, you find out, and then you head all the way to a finale. It's incredibly streamlined. It's not convoluted. It knows what it's doing, and the film mostly concentrates on basically trying to have a good time. And it's at this point that I really got into the film again.
Yeah.
This film delves into some, all the right stuff. You're a lot more aware of the stakes. These guys are absolutely screwed. They could kind of say sod it and walk away, but they've got personal stakes in it, and you're like, okay, they don't.
Personal stakes.
I thought I'd slip that one in,
Oh,
and it's how can I say?
Under the ribs.
I think a weaker script would have had them kind of spell out in like a big moralizing tone, like it's not about the money. It's about doing what's right. They don't do it.
Yeah, no.
Get it more like James Woods is doing it because he hates this guy and he's annoyed at him.
Yeah, James Woods, like I said, throughout this entire movie, James Woods is fueled purely by tobacco, alcohol, and anger.
I love that. Annoyed. Like, I hate them. I have a passion. No, I just have a general annoyance.
Yeah. You would... If it wasn't for the fact that vampires exist, this guy would probably be like a bounty hunter.
Yeah,
and letting out all of his frustrations on people who failed to appear for the DWSLRs or something like that, DUI cases.
Could you imagine him working alongside Dog the Bounty Hunter? You need to let go of it. You need to start doing the ice, brah. Whereas James Woods' character would be like, "No, man, carry on." Yeah, I'll hit up with you.
Take more. Come on, don't miss out, man.
Yeah, I need a job.
Shut up, dog, man. You're such a killjoy.
Just knocks you down when you're walking.
Yeah.
Kicks you in the ribs a couple times.
Yeah. Keeps that pin pan strong.
Oh man, I for those of you who haven't seen this movie before, I cannot emphasize just how much James Woods hates you. Like, hates you, hates the person behind the camera, hates the writers, hates his co-workers, hates the actors, everyone.
You make him sound like the Peter Hitchens of Hollywood.
You can actually get the director's cut on DVD, and if you stick around post credits, he personally calls your mum a whore. It's
Wow.
worth it.
That's weird. It's a bold move, Cotton. But
That was a
you
long
know,
time to personalize those DVDs, but he did it because he is that angry.
just James Woods in a soundproof room with a cigarette, glass of water, and just a phone book.
Yeah, the cast commentary. James Wood starts off, well, the others are dead now. So here are the following targets. Takes out the phone book.
Hold on. James Carmichael from Schenectady, New Jersey. Your mother's a whore. Flips the page. Michael Johnson from Ruby Ridge, Connecticut. Your mother's a whore. And just
Oh, I love it. So we end up at this finale, and it's perfect. Like, your heroes are outnumbered. They've got a crap situation. You're aware of the stakes are imposing, and you feel they're the underdogs who've got to turn the tide. You know, this is everything you need for a finale. You're wondering how the heck are they going to do it? Why is Cheryl Lee still chained up in a truck after about 40 minutes of the film? Doesn't matter.
she is a woman.
I don't know why she agreed to be in this, but bless her for doing it and raising the standards. Like, I'm glad they actually cast someone proper in that. So, oh gosh, which one am I on now? I couldn't get a screen cap of this, but I'm trying to get the bit that I absolutely loved, but the camera was so dynamic that I couldn't quite get it. But the film absolutely came alive for me at this point. The sort of frenzy of them trying to organize everything to have the priest lure the vampires.
Yeah.
And then James Woods fights them and tows them out. And you've got this... The reason I love it so much is encapsulated in this little bit where it goes wrong. The elevator doors close, and James Woods has to, with pure rage, open them. And he sort of jumps up, pulls them apart, wedges himself up, and the vampire gets pulled out beneath him. It's absolute chaos. It's such a wonderful, fluid movement.
Yeah, very well blocked and well choreographed. Like that's another thing that people tend to overlook in this movie in particular is how well the action scenes are done. Like, you got movies like Big Trouble in Little China, where the action scenes are intentionally very Hong Kong action movie and bombastic and over the top, but that's what Carpenter was going for. And then you've got like Escape from New York, where it's very gritty, very, very 80s, very again, very guerrilla-esque filmmaking, even though it wasn't. Like, they like Escape from New York, they were filming on the streets of New York, but they at least cornered it off. And by the way, Kurt Russell will tell the story of how he was running down a New York street and then had to duck into an alleyway because the next scene was being shot. And he was running, and then he ducked into an alleyway, and again, full leather, head to toe, eye patch, assault rifle, pistols on either hip, and he ducks in, and there's like 3 bums standing in front of a barrel fire. And he just looks at him, and he's in full Snake Plissken mode, so he's got the fuck you face. Oh, sorry.
Keep going. We're past the
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, he's got the full I am here to have a bad time face, and and these homeless guys just like look, just blood just drains out of their face, and they're like, "Cool, man, it's cool." that's one of the beautiful things about like how dynamic his film style is, because you go from like these blocky movies in the 80s where it's really gritty, and then you get into the 90s and you've got movies like this, you've got movies like Ghost of Mars, things like that. What was oh crap, what was another one? Escape from LA, obviously, which, by the way, Escape from LA 2 years before this movie came out, and you can really tell, like, especially in the music, you listen to the theme song of Escape from LA, that very dark, deep basso guitar strings and the very somber music, it really does bleed into the theme of this movie. And you can always tell, like, if you watch his movies in like order, you can tell, you can almost see in real time how his moods change. It's by the music alone, man. It's so good. I will gush on John Carpenter's talent, not just as a director and a writer, but as a composer. He does so, and again in this very scene, the music. When it comes to a scene where you should be paying attention to the action, music does its best work when you don't even notice it until you realize you don't notice it. It is perfectly accented to build up the tension of the scene, to build up the suspense of the scene, and it just flows naturally. And Carpenter does such a good job with that.
Oh, totally.
I just want to. Sorry. Go
ahead, TC.
I just really want to quickly mention something because otherwise I'll forget. James Woods in this sort of scene does what I consider to be a bit of a cardinal sin, unless you're breaking the fourth wall. So when they're debating whether he or Padre goes up the elevator or goes down the elevator, and obviously they agree that Padre does it. During that bit, James Woods looks right down the camera. Like, again, going back, he does look visibly annoyed just doing that scene. But at two moments, he looks directly at the camera.
Oh, almost, no, I missed it.
Almost as to say, like, right, yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I've got the movie.
I don't know if he's trying to break the fourth wall in that point, but if he's not,
if you
you see it, just little glimpses.
If you go to 1 hour, 19 minutes, 34 seconds, he is looking straight at the camera.
Yeah,
just pissed off at you in particular.
Yeah. He also seems to be quite just a bit of a character change as well. But in this sort of moment, he seems to be quite pally with Padre, even forgiving, because after the lift shuts, because they're like, oh no, shut the lift, and keep the lift open. I mean, and it shuts, and he's like, oh, sorry. He's like, don't worry about it, it's fine, don't worry.
He does chill out a little bit there. It's kind of, I think it's kind of like in story mode.
Yeah,
it's like he starts to respect the Padre a little bit.
And also, the Padre's got his cherry proverbially popped when it comes to vampire hunting, so he's got a little bit more respect for him.
And I do want to mention as well, because you mentioned about the sort of when it all starts to go a bit Pete Tong with the old the fight scene in that room, and like Padre's held down by one vampire, and he's like, kill it, and he's shooting it in like the head or in the chest.
Yes.
It's like, no, use the stake.
That was so good. And then when you get to the female vampire, like after Montoya's just come in and shot her up because she's a woman. And you've got Crow, it like jumps on her and like comes along and is like shooting like directly in the head.
Oh yeah.
It's just kind of like okay, Blade was impressive and it was smooth, it's great, it's very polished. This set of scenes is just like all manic energy.
Oh yeah.
And it's obviously lots of blocking work's gone into it, but it's the manic energy of it that I absolutely loved. It felt just like the best aspects of Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 were in here. That crazy energy, I was having a blast in this scene.
I mean, that in my opinion is trademark Carpenter,
Mm.
because you get that same kind of manic energy. You get it in The Thing, you get it in Big Trouble, you get it in They Live, you get it in
Mm.
Escape from New York. Hell, you even get it in Escape from L.A. You know, where it's just things are obviously out of control and insane. What the hell is going on? But you can follow it,
Yeah.
and you're
Mm.
intrigued by it, and he got you on that hook. And he, like I said, and I think it is purely because he is in full control.
Mm.
Director, writer, composer. All of your senses are being directly controlled by him throughout the entire movie.
Oh, definitely.
And it's that, and I think it is that guttural, like manic, visceral style that John Carpenter has that sets this movie apart from the others, from the other like vampire movies of the 90s and 2000s that had come before and after this. You know,
visceral is a very good word for it.
And I will admit, you know, looking back, thinking about it, Buffy does get more like this in the later seasons.
Yeah, it learns to. It's very
Yeah.
sloppy initially. I think it takes till season 3 for the fighting to actually get quite good.
Yeah.
Well, it's gotta. Buffy has to start realizing it's not a teen drama, not just a teen drama, but you know, that's Joss Whedon. That's another director. That Joss Whedon is a director of which I have a love-hate relationship, which means I love to hate most of his work. But he does. Some of his work is good. You know, obviously, you know, you got your Fireflies, your Buffys, and your Angels for the most part. But he's way too flip-floppy for me. You know, and again, this is why Carpenter is just so good, because he manages, even with such, you know, you can tell that behind the scenes of this movie was manic and crazy and over the top, and everything was going wrong. They didn't have any budget. James Woods is drunk and angry again. Where even is the Baldwin? Oh my God, what is going on? And but like everything manages to be smooth in the end. That's because it's Carpenter, and Carpenter can turn a beautiful mountain out of a messy old molehill. And I turned that analogy around and made it positive.
Oh,
Right.
very. I mean, it's a good description of it. So we come up from that. We get onto Montoya driving away when everything's gone all wrong. It's all gone haywire, and we get this beautiful payoff here. Like, hey, they set it up. They had to pay it off. It's still creepy, but it kind of fits with a vampire thing, and like this thing where they're sort of savage beasts, very, very, how can I say, urge orientated. And it's kind of nice that Cheryl Lee gets to do this and put some absolute savagery in. I did think the initial bite effect looked very fake, unfortunately, but after she's torn that first chunk of flesh off it looks much better.
You see, I don't mind that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Again, it goes back to the uncanniness of it. It just looks wrong. The fact that it looks wrong.
You're going to love it when we get to the Giallo stuff and start watching Lucio Fulci.
Oh.
You'll love that stuff.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I didn't mind it too much. I mean, yeah, it looked fake, but for me, it was like, at least it wasn't CGI.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I like this. She has to pay it off. And when she comes back covered in blood, she looks good. She looks quite iconic. I wish I'd got a screen cap of it. The next one I've got does have her, but there's a lovely shot. I am very sorry. Like, guys, you might notice, chat, that these screenshots are not HD. I usually can get HD of this, but I could only find a standard definition of copy of the film. So that's why everything looks a bit low resolution, unfortunately.
Right.
If you want, I don't mean to talk inside baseball, but if you want, I can DM you a couple screenshots.
Ooh.
Right.
Can you get me the screenshot of her, like just before this bit? She's walking back towards vampires, and she's framed underneath from a hero angle, and she looks so good.
Give me just a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
I'll say while you go searching for that, let's talk about this scene, because we get a bit of a big reveal at this moment. It's all gone a bit wrong for the for our anti-heroes. Obviously, you've had you've got the lesser Baldwin who's like bleeding out in the van. You've got Padre who's legged it into a shop, into a restaurant to hide away, because the big bad has arrived, and it's pretty hopeless at this point. And
Yes.
you've got James Woods who's tied up. I can't remember what he's tied up against, but yeah, he's tied up. And then you get the cot, and then you get the bishop enter, and you find out that he's been working with the discount Christopher Walken all this time. Why has he been doing it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's because he's been getting old, and he's questioning his faith, and he's not too sure whether it's all real or not. And so he wants immortality in exchange for getting the Black Cross. Now, if you guys remember when we first started talking about the film, one of the things that the guys say to these women as they're chatting them up is that not only are vampires real, but they know God exists. They just don't understand him. Now, if God exists and they know he exists, why is this bishop having doubts all of a sudden? Where are these doubts coming from? Does he doubt the afterlife? Does he doubt the existence of God? That's a good picture.
Well, Dresden Files. I may be filling in the blanks here, but
Please do.
The God, if one can fathom such things, and this is going beyond the Dresden Files a little bit. This is going on to theology. I don't know your religious proclivities. I won't get into mine, but God gave us free will. Okay, if you want to go down the Western canon route, one wishes to indulge in such things. God gave us free will. Okay, with all the advantages and disadvantages that came with it, and one of the biggest disadvantages, although I wouldn't call it one, of free will is doubt.
Yeah.
You can be as secure in your faith as anyone, and when death starts looking, I can tell you with recent personal experience, when death starts going, hey, what's you doing? what plans do you have next week, next month, next year?
Hey, that near-death experience did give you a word?
You start James Woods. You start to go, and he's getting up there, and hey, it doesn't matter. That is what we call a crisis of faith. That is you could even say that it is God testing his faith, and he failed.
Yeah, no, of course, I get that, but we're not. The bit at the beginning essentially removes the faith part, and it becomes factually based from what they say. Like, we know God is real. Like, it's not a we believe or we have faith. They're outright saying, look, vampires are real, and so is God. The only difference is they don't understand God. Like as in understand. And I interpreted that as in, yeah, he's real. They just don't understand him as an entity, or it's like as a person, like as real as you or I are on this on this stream, or the guys
crime guy. I hate to break it to you, but there are people that vehemently and enthusiastically believe that the earth is flat.
No, I get that, but
like,
again,
it doesn't matter. Evidence. Even if we are to assume that this is a world where God speaks to people and makes his presence known for absolute certain, it is human nature to go, nah, I don't believe it. It's human nature. I firmly believe that even if it was a world where it's like being an atheist in the D&D universe, where gods literally walk the earth. You know, it can happen.
If I can pitch in, I think it does make sense to me, in the sense that God's there, but he's unknown. But the vampires are a certainty, and people lean to certainty. So I'm watching Midnight Mass right now, and I won't do spoilers for it, but from the trailers we know that unexplained miraculous things happen, and some people immediately go to, let me just try and explain that. And can I just work out how that miracle happened, please? And it's like that natural instinct to, if you're scared, you go for certainty. You try and sort of
right
to go to the other side of things, to borrow from Richard Dawkins. You try and unweave the rainbow. We're an eclectic show.
to quote again, taking from the Dresden Files, which is a book series that is set in the modern day, where the supernatural world is not just there; it's prevalent. It borders relevancy of what we would consider the normal world. And there, in the 7th book, there's a very poignant scene that I will never forget. It's where a medical examiner, a mortician, is made very violently aware of the supernatural world. And the main character, Harry Dresden, he's like, yeah, man, it's always been here. You just refuse to notice it. And he's like, what was it, like millions of people go missing in this country alone every year. They're never seen again. Maybe they leave and start another life somewhere else. Maybe they're kidnapped and killed. Maybe they're involved in a drug bust. You know, there are always explanations, but it just so happens that that's the same rate of the deaths of herd animal populations in the savannas of Africa. You know, it's like, you know, there, and another again, not to make this a Dresden Files stream. At the end of the 2nd book, Harry Dresden, the main character, kills a giant, super-powered werewolf with a shining silver projectile on high-definition video footage. And there's a cop there, and there's FBI agents there, and all of this stuff, and everyone denies it. It's like, well, the footage is taken at night, and it's real, and it's shaky, and it's kind of grainy, and I don't know, and it just kind of looks like bad special effect. The human mind will do everything it can to rationalize anything that it cannot explain.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson from the Dresden Files that I will always keep in the back of my head, you know, because it's like, yeah, you see a troll grab a you know, a kid playing hooky from under a bridge. You're probably not going to want to think about that. That's probably pretty traumatizing. You'll just think that you just dreamed that or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's quite insightful, actually. Yeah, because I didn't really think of it like that at the time when I was watching the film.
Yeah.
Just because see, I'm not a debater. I'm not going to challenge it. I'm quite. It's why I asked the question. It's just because I think I needed an additional insight, because it genuinely made me wonder, you know. But that actually makes a lot of sense. One of the other things as well about this particular scene is the whole ritual that they're doing, because again, I might have got the wrong end of the stick, but I thought the ritual that they did to Valak, or whatever his name is, was essentially to kill him, or to end him, or to get rid him of the demons. And it seems like, because it is a reenactment of that very ritual, but this time it's going to make him a daywalker and give him the added benefits of being a vampire without none of the weaknesses. Yeah,
pretty much. And you know, with the creation of daywalkers, you know, the bishop becoming a vampire, you're right, all strengths, no weaknesses, you know.
Yeah, but
I think the question is, why would they try and do that ritual originally if it ends up making him a daywalker?
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting that you bring that up, because me and the boys over at Cabal the other day were watching the Mummy.
Doing, Cabal?
Yeah, exactly.
Prevail.
Cabal prevails.
Yeah, we were watching the Mummy, And one of the questions that someone asked was, wait a minute. So this guy, he bangs the pharaoh's wife, kills the pharaoh with the wife, and all of his priestly minions pick a fight with the pharaoh's guards. And in order to punish him, they curse him with the ability to become immortal and become a super-powered force of will that will blacken the sun and throw down comets and can literally suck people dry and control the sands and the water and make giant weird CGI faces in them. It's like, oh no, please don't make me immortal and superpowered. Eek. You know,
it's like moments where you're just like, now wait a minute, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Man, there are just times when you just got to go with it.
Yeah.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
It's fine. Anyway, we're a bit short on time, so you get the Padre coming up, doing his hero moment, going full roof Korean.
Best line of the film. Best line of the film.
Oh, go for it.
Hurry up, Padre. My nuts are on fire here.
Yes. You get a really audacious drive-by saving, but I did laugh when the crucifix gets pulled off by Montoya with the tow line. Again, good use of continuity.
Oh yeah.
It did look funny, you know. Thank goodness they landed the right way. But and then I do think there was kind of a little bit of cheating with how gosh darn quick the sun comes up.
Oh,
it's a little messy.
That's always the way it is with vampire movies.
Yeah, this one I think it was like a bit frenzy, a bit rushed. It's a kind of cheating, but we'll go with it. It's good fun, and it does get us to oh gosh, which is it? The showdown with Valek.
Yeah. Unironic holy relic combat.
Yeah. Kylo Ren's having a tough time.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You get a classic 90s explosion. You know, it looks glorious.
I loved it.
This is so much fun. This fight, just James Woods is actually smiling. It's, you know, even he's having a good time in this.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, if you watch some of his other action movies, he always has a great time when it comes to beating the ever-loving shit out of people and getting the shit kicked out of him.
It's the vampire that's caused him the greatest amount of annoyance. Has now got his comeuppance.
Yeah, it looks good. I think they handled it well. You know, there's a little bit of, if Harrion were here, he would complain about how is he able to lift Valak up with the cross?
Because he's James Woods and he's mad.
I felt duty bound to be the voice of Harrion there.
I mean, he's quite literally the Tony Stark of this universe because, you know, the big main bad knows who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite an impressive point, isn't it?
He's like, how does he know my name? Well, it's because you're James Woods, bitch.
Yeah.
He called his mother a whore. Come on.
Yeah.
Alex doesn't forget that.
By the way, I've sent you a couple of screenshots in your DMs.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, figured you might enjoy a couple of them. But yeah,
yes.
There's like, and then you get to the ending, and
there is a little bit we can quibble, I suppose. It's an odd one, but
you know, James Woods, he shot his wad. He's tired.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care anymore. He's like, I don't care if you go off with your little vampire whore.
They're aiming for poignance here. I don't think they nailed it, but bless them for trying.
I struggle to pinpoint at which point in the movie that Alec Baldwin decided that actually I love this vampire.
Excuse me. David Baldwin.
David Baldwin.
Sorry. He is the lesser of the lesser Baldwins.
You did.
Did I say Alec?
It's not Alec Baldwin. It's Aldi Baldwin.
Aldi
Baldwin. Oh, I messed it up.
It's value save Baldwin.
little Baldwin. Yeah, you owe me 2 days.
His little brother.
Yeah, he like he starts off the film like, just kill the bitch, and then, you know, smacking her up and stripping her down and just being an all-round dickwad to her. And then he's like, actually, nah, I'm madly in love with her, and she's definitely in love with me, even though she's wincing when I'm kissing her. And no, she definitely loves me. We're a perfect couple. We're a perfect match.
I'm gonna be honest. I was hoping they wouldn't do that. I really genuinely hated this bit.
Yeah, from the perspective of a Baldwin, that is true love. So, you know.
Yeah, it's how can I say? It's the kind of thing that gets horror a bad reputation. And if a verified Twitter account called that bit misogynistic, I'd sort of have trouble arguing about it, to be honest. I think that bit was actually quite badly judged. I'd been happy if they skipped it.
To be honest with you, if someone called this movie or any scene in it misogynistic, I would reply in the classic Carl Johnson a la Grand Theft Auto San Andreas manner. You say it like it's a bad thing.
Well, like I say, it's fun when you notice he's just going around systematically pimp slapping women. You know, you get into it. You know,
I mean,
oh no. Oh no.
What?
Oh,
What's
guys.
Going on?
Oh no. Okay, that's all right. We're on to. It's cool. We've got one screenshot left. So I think we're probably not a big fan of the attempt to get poignancy. They
had themselves a bro moment, you know. It's like, hey man, I'll let you walk away, and then the moving on, the passing of the torch, you know.
I was a much bigger fan of this. This, like, he's got his new buddy. You know,
like, yeah, I've threatened to kill you a few times, and but you saved my life, so I guess I'll let you live.
Exactly. I like this, and there's a good callback, you know, and the priest then gets in on the joshing about the word like, this was good stuff. This was good fun.
I honestly would have liked if John Carpenter enjoyed doing sequels. I would have liked to have seen a bigger budget sequel to this one more than almost anything else.
It would have been really nice to get him to give him the chance to get to do it as he wanted, because, you know, he obviously had to compromise a heck of a lot of this one.
Yeah, this one and Big Trouble in Little China. Wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to that one, but it is far past the availability for a sequel for that.
Yeah. So that's very much the end of the film. So chat, if we can get a W in the chat for Wes, who I think has been a fantastic guest on stream.
Absolutely.
Really good well of knowledge as well. Fantastic. It's been a really good chat. I'll get my own in there.
Harry's position in the starting lineup is under threat, ladies and gentlemen.
If Harry gets too knowledgeable, we're gonna have to
the thing is the only reason why I am as knowledgeable as I am is because for a good chunk of my life, I sit in front of a computer, I do my work, and I watch things. And I get interested in things, so I go down rabbit holes, so I learn a whole bunch about things. You show me a movie, and there's like a 70% chance I know way too much about it, especially if you get into something that I like. Like, RoboCop, or, like the directors that I really like, your Verhovens, your Carpenters, your Camerons, things like that.
Are we going to go rogue with RoboCop?
I am 100% up for going rogue with RoboCop.
Because I'm 100% up for
I could do the whole Verhoeven thing of Total Recall, Starship Troopers. Well, Starship Troopers has kind of been done in our sphere a bit, but
I guarantee you,
Total Recall.
I guarantee you, if you want to do a deep dive on Starship Troopers, I might be able to help you out with that, because there's like not just the movie, but like the book and how wrong Paul Verhoeven was.
Yes.
I'm sure you guys know plenty about it. There was a what's his name? Sargon.
Yeah,
Sargon did
very good video on that.
breakdown of Star. But I have Starship Troopers is my favorite book of all time. It literally fell on my head when I was 8 years old in my father's closet, and I read it, and it was one of those books where as soon as I was done reading, I started over and I read it again, and then I started over, I read it again. But yeah, oh man, I love RoboCop. The how good RoboCop is, and how poignant the political commentary on RoboCop is.
Well, I'm feeling plans are brewing, but for the moment, chat, let's round off our thing on vampires. I want your scores. I want you to tell us if you'd buy that for $1. Or more accurately, let's get your scores out of 12s. I see Mergoot's got the first one in. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, pretty legitty.
Yeah,
out of.
We do it out of 12. And
burgers.
12 out of 12 burgers, and with cheese is an option. You can add cheese on there.
Oh, there's a ton of cheese for this.
Well, yeah, we don't have Harry in predictions. So, Wes, would you like to do your sort of closing thoughts and score for us?
So, when it comes to this movie, obviously, like, I am biased because number one, it's vampires. Number one, vampires. Love me vampires. Love me Carpenter. Love me James Woods. Simple as. Look, ate me CGI. Ate me Twilight. Simple as. You know, like, you can't. You said it perfectly a while ago. This is the type of movie you get with some friends. You get some drinks. You get some good food. You get like chicken wings or it's like something like that, and you watch it and you laugh at it and you have a great time. So in that context, I would give it a solid 8, maybe a 9 out of 12, because like you said, there are some issues with the pacing, with the cinematography, with stuff like that. But I really don't want to knock off too much about it because it was kind of out of John Carpenter's hands. But in the end, it did happen. And no matter what, we have to judge it for what it is, not what it could have been, not what he wanted. So yeah, I would give it a solid 8.5, with extra cheese.
Oh heck yeah!
Burned smelly onions. That is James Woods.
Definitely, probably that sort of like whiskey bourbon sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe just whiskey from Daniel Baldwin. I don't know.
Everyone was drunk.
I think that's very fair. That's very. So that was 8.5.
8.5 out of 12.
8.5 with cheese.
With extra cheese.
Oh, that's I can go with that. TCG, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'd give it an 8. 8 burgers out of 12. Throw in as much cheese as you possibly can because this was a wild ride. But yeah, pretty much what Wes has said. You know, there were issues with the film, but to be fair, you know, if 2/3 of your budget is just snatched from underneath you, like short notice, it's going to have an impact on the final product. And I don't really hold John Carpenter or any of the sort of cast or people who worked behind the scenes to make this film accountable for that. Yeah, I think to really appreciate this film, though, you have to understand what it is you're watching. And it's just an action film. I've said it time and time again. These streams are a bit of an experience for me because I would watch media without sort of deep diving. That for me is the time when I switch my mind off and just enjoy, consume, if you will. This probably is one of the quintessential films that I would do that for. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to think. Just enjoy what you're watching. There's some really good moments. James Woods' character, sort of like on and off sort of character, comment, sort of flitting between sort of comedic and seriousness, and serious was pretty good. He definitely had the best line of the film as well. with Padre, hurry up, my nuts are on fire here. that had me howling when I first heard that. Because, oh mate, the urgency. But yes, a solid 8. Yeah, whacking some cheese, whacking a lot of cheese, throwing some ketchup for good measure because of the blood, and yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, James the Lamenter, you're not the only one. I really want a burger now.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. Empire 2.0 is completely right. Harry would hate the film. He'd be mad. He'd like the patrolling. He'd go for that, I reckon. But yeah, I'm torn. So because I had to watch it in standard definition. I think it.
Oh, same.
I'd up it if I could. You've got it in HD, haven't you? So.
I may be able to provide you with a website that you can utilize for perfectly legal, completely legal, where you might be able to legally imbibe certain media completely legally in high definition.
All above board, of course. Yeah. For me, I'm torn between an 8 and a 7.5. I think I lean towards 8 because so much was out of Carpenter's control, and he wrestled back some glory from the jaws of defeat. Like, everything's working against him in this. I don't know. I probably am a 7.5 because that middle section is quite painful for me.
Yeah,
I do find the stuff with Cheryl Lee a bit creepy, and that's just Daniel Baldwin being a creep. But damn it, when this film is good, it is good. You know, it's like zombie flesh eaters when the zombies are storming the hospital structure, and it's just like zombie conquistadors are coming in and they're throwing Molotovs. It's like, this is insane. I'm loving it. You know, it's that kind of madness. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm in a good mood. I think if I could see it in HD, it would be an 8. So I'm going to go 8, absolutely loaded with cheese and bourbon maple barbecue sauce.
Yes, absolutely.
And you see, chat is pretty consistent. I've only seen 7s and above here. Everyone's saying sort of 7 and 8, so I'm guessing like it's not perfect, but gosh darn it is good fun. You're having a good time with this film. Get through, you know, when the middle bit comes on, sort the pizza, go and top everyone's beers up. Everyone take the toilet break in the middle section in the hotel, and then come back when James Woods has started shoving towels in the priest's mouth for the 7th time. Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we'll round things off now. In terms of channel news, that is the end. This is the audience choice. So we're going to be starting a new arc. And since you guys are around here, I'll give you the spoilers. You know, if you stick around, you get the news nice and early. Our next arc is going to be very different to what we've done now. We're going to be covering Jack the Ripper movies.
Oh.
And this is going to be very wide-ranging. It's quite difficult, really, because there's so much we could do in that. But this gives me an excuse to start really, really early. I think this is going to be very different for you guys. I want you to give this a chance. We're going to start with 1927's The Lodger. I'll give you the full run if you want, guys, if you want to know the whole run of what we've got, because I could have pulled a lot of stuff from the 80s and 70s. I ended up not doing that. I've gone for The Lodger for our quite traditional one. And then we're following it up with a short TV season that's actually only about 100 minutes in length. We'll be doing Whitechapel Season 1, which is about a modern copycat killer. And after that, so for Tuesday, 19th of October, we'll be doing From Hell. And I already saw a lot of people posting about From Hell.
I was going to say. So I have I have something way into left field that you might want to look into if you want to do Jack the Ripper.
Oh, go on.
Hear me out.
Okay.
You're doing From Hell. Excellent. Absolutely. That is a crazy movie. And Heather Graham. So,
Oh, yeah.
there's a video game. A FMV video game from the 90s that I played when I was a kid. And it got a little bit famous because of the cast. Okay.
Okay.
Some of the people in this, John Rhys Davies.
Oh, wow.
Willis from Good Times. Marion from Indiana Jones. Mick from Rocky, the old guy, the trainer.
Yeah.
And the piece de resistance, Christopher Walken.
What?
Going full Christopher Walken.
Mhm.
And it's an FMV game. It's about 3 hours of watch time. It's a bit on the long side, but if you can find a good copy of it, it's all live action. It's basically a movie. And it was made during a time when it was this first push in the 90s. CD-ROMs became a thing. Oh, you went from having a little bit of storage space to what was comparatively a huge amount. And they wanted to make this the first truly cinematic movie. Also, another one who's on it is you ever seen the Warriors?
No, I haven't.
The guy. How about Commando? The movie Commando.
Oh yeah.
Sully from Commando, the little guy, the little asshole guy.
It doesn't ring a bell, but I can look it up. What's the name of the game? I don't think
it's called Ripper.
Ripper. Okay.
It is a cyberpunk mystery game, and the best part about it is the ending is different based on your decisions and a certain level of randomness. But the performances in it and the sheer amount of cyberpunk insanity is so good.
But
it's a bit of a deep dive. You might not want to go down that road, but if you're doing Jack the Ripper, in my opinion, you at least have to give an honorable mention to the video game known as Ripper for nothing else but the performances of John Rhys Davies and Christopher Walken. Oh my God, Christopher Walken is so good in that movie, in that game.
I think I'll have to pull up some stuff that there will be a lot of honorable mentions we can go at. The game is just called Ripper.
Yeah, it's just called Ripper.
So
and
if you search Ripper Christopher Walken, there's a full long play movie.
I'm sure there is.
I'm
sure there is.
I've linked it in the. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pop it in here because then you can
pop
put
it in the private chat and then I can link it because I think I need to make you a mod because then you can actually post links.
Yes.
Right, got it.
That's
I will
Ripper.
have to sort that.
And
all right, here we go, guys.
I can link.
So, I hope that's the actual thing and not a Rick roll because the trust is so good. TCG, I didn't even check that one.
Nope, it's real.
And then this one, and then this link I've just shared now is the lodger.
Yeah. Oh, you absolute star. Right. So there you go, guys. It's a free movie as well. It's free real estate. You can all enjoy that. 1927's The Lodger. This is going to, this is going to be the earliest film I've ever got you guys covering. I hope you enjoy it. And we will be discussing that next week. Other channel news, I'm doing episode by episode reviews of Midnight Mass because there's quite a lot of them and I'm trying to be reasonably timely. They're less edited, but they should be a bit of fun. The only downside of it is that I have to hold off on watching more Midnight Mass so that I am predicting it because I'm trying to sort of predict it as I go and not spoil myself. I'm hopefully getting another one out. Probably Thursday will be when I drop the next one, and then episode 3 should be Friday. We'll see how that goes. That's everything on my end. I'll be giving big thanks to That Crime Guy. Thank you for coming on, being fantastic on the show. Do you have anything to shill?
Yeah, just I've got. I'm going to start doing a bit of a Halloween season from this week. So, last Friday, I should say, my latest true crime episode was uploaded. It was the story of Susan Smith. Quite a dark one. But we're now moving into Halloween season now. So every Sunday this month there'll be an upload, kind of spooky themed cases that send chills up my spine at least. But we're going to be kicking things off with McCamey Manor. So it's a bit of a different direction that I'm going.
Oh, I love McCamey Manor.
Yes,
it is my life goal to spend all night at McCamey Manor.
Oh well, good luck with that one, mate. I mean,
I love McCamey Manor.
Good luck with that one. Yeah, it's a bit of a different direction, because normally we cover true crime, which some might argue this place has found a legal loophole to essentially break the law but not break it. So
yeah, hey, it's consensual.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
So yeah, it will be out. It will be out from 7 p.m. on Sunday, UK time, of course. So yeah, it'd be great to see you there. So subscribe to the channel to stay updated. I'll give you guys a quick spoiler alert as well for the next one that I'll be covering. Now, a year ago, I started doing true crime, October the 11th to be exact. And in my opening video about Ed Gein, I talked about serial killers or killers that inspired horror movies. The next one I'm going to be doing is the opposite. So it's killers inspired by horror movies as opposed to creating them. And we'll be looking at the Scream killers.
Oh, fantastic. I'm looking forward to that one. I've never heard about this, but that's layers of irony there.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. All right, lovely. And Wes, thanks. I think you've been a great guest. Is there anything you'd like to shill?
Kind of. Unfortunately, because of a horrible set of circumstances about 8 months ago, I had to put my my plans on hold. But I am planning on doing a episode by episode breakdown of everything Star Trek.
Oh, yes.
So what I plan on doing is I'm starting with the original series, and I'm going episode by episode, and I am just going to break down the meaning, some behind the scenes stuff I know, and basically what happens in the episode. And I'm going to be encouraging folks to watch it alongside with me. You watch the episode and then you watch the thing with me. It's going to be it's going to be hosted in the Cabal. And I want to do it because unfortunately there has been a manipulation of what Star Trek means. And it's bothered me because I love the concept of Star Trek. I love the impact that it has on our civilization and our culture. I love the meaning, the messaging of it, and I want to remind people of what that was. And it is not whatever it is that Discovery is, and what Picard is, and and if you are in various Star Trek communities, you know what I'm talking about. You know the subversion that's going on there. And instead of actively fighting that subversion, because going into someone else's group and trying to have that conversation, trying to have that fight, that's a losing battle. So instead, I'm going to make my own. I'm going to make my own videos. I'm going to make my own commentary, because you saw how much I knew about some random lesser John Carpenter movie. I grew up watching Star Trek. I grew up with the philosophical and moral lessons that Star Trek gives you. And I have grown up thinking about it and mulling it around in my head. And I would not feel complete. I would not feel right just letting Star Trek die the way we're willing. Like me, I'm willing to let Star Wars die. I'm willing to let He-Man die. I'm willing to let all this stuff die because in the end, that's just pop culture. Star Trek is different. I'm sorry if I'm going on too long, but we would not have a modern space program without Star Trek. The first space shuttle was called the Enterprise, and when the original series crew, the cast, was invited to the unveiling of it, and they played the Star Trek theme when it was brought out.
That's awesome.
Some of the greatest intellectual minds of the last 40 years were directly inspired by Star Trek. We cannot let this die. We should not let this die. And instead of trying to fight the fight on their terms, we will start a new fight on ours by writing it into the proverbial digital stone about what these episodes are, about what the lessons they can give, and about what we can gain morally, philosophically, culturally, and societally from these things. And also, it's just a really good TV show.
Well, heck yeah. Oh, I'm sold now. I definitely want to watch that. It's like, I've been watching a lot of the original Twilight Zones, and they're just like the moral aspect is something I'm always interested in.
Rod Serling is one of my personal heroes. I have a video for you if you like that. What Rod Serling talking about what he calls fanatic letter writers, and how this the grievance culture that we are seeing the effects of in the modern world is not new. And Rod Serling's view on that thing is interesting.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, I think that is our show for this week. I'm going to round off with a massive thanks to chat. You've been nice and lively and I think really engaged this week. I'm loving the response to this. I think you chose well. Thanks to everyone who's watching on catch up as well. I hope you found it interesting. And a massive thanks again to That Crime Guy and Wes Wyleven. Been really great, guys. I'm going to sign off now. And thanks, y'all. Cheers.